just feels like it's time to do our due diligence. Give back to the fans, give back to the community, the online community. Uh, Here we are in the Alabaster Sky Palace. But we're not going to talk about that quite yet. What the hell I was? Well, I was thinking about Lena Dunham. Lena Dunham is she's on some kind of press blitz right now for she got some fucking memoir. I'm not sure. Is it just she had a book of essays. Now this is a memoir. Uh, can I say she's the voice of the generation? So anyway, she's popping up in my TikTok feed, and I really do want to watch Girls. I've seen some of it. I watched some of it when I was on. I probably watched somewhere around 10 episodes or something. Uh, I never really binged it, or maybe I'll go in the other room. Let me go in the other room. I don't want to be loud in my living room here. My living room. Do I need this big bright light on? No, probably. I guess not. Maybe this is a little. Maybe I can put the projector on. That'd be kind of interesting. Let me try that. Put the projector on here. My $20 projector from Five Below kicks ass. I endorse this product 150%. See, this is what I sleep looking at every night. This window. You can't really tell, but that's like Billionaires Row. That's like a super tall. You can see that's the Empire State Building. Right here. That's the Empire State Building right there. So I sleep basically with the Empire State Building coming out of my pants. Hold on. I'm trying to find I gotta get my power source here. Hang on. I mean, this projector, unlike every other projector I've ever had, turns on instantly. Every other projector, I mean, not that I've ever had any kind of state of the art. I don't think I've ever had a projector made after, you know, sometime in the 2000s. Okay, see, there we go. Oops. Turned on immediately. No fucking bullshit. Where should I put it? Is that okay? That's kind of a cool lighting effect. Let's go with that for a sec. At the Empire State Building. I mean, I can't really put anything on the projector right now. Uh, it's more just about using it as a light source. So I attempt to make it more interesting. There we go. Here, look at that. Look at that. Oh shit. Maybe I'll sit in the fucking chair. This tripod that the projector came with is just so fucking whack. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. I mean, nothing fancy. It's just a fucking projector menu. I guess it's not as good as having a skyline as paying for that new one. Well, I just don't want to be on my air mattress any more than. Let's see, maybe we can put it like this, kind of. Set that up there. Put it over here. I guess I probably should have done all of this before turning it on, but whatever. My fans know what I'm about. It's a run and gun type thing. That looks pretty cool, right? Oh yeah, there we go. It's like of spooky. I mean, I guess that's kind of scary. It's probably gonna scare people away. Uh, try this. And okay, let's try that. Left field. Not quite. It's a little bit higher. Bitch. Oops. How's that? Let's try that. Okay. That's right in my fucking face. I don't know if I can do that. It's right in my face. Shit. Behind the scenes action here. God damn it. Okay, so this tripod is just super whack. But it's a $20 fucking projector. You don't even really need the tripod necessarily. Oh man. Okay, now it's still on my face. That does look painful. I guess it would be really cool if there was actually an image playing on it. The thing is, I don't have Wi-Fi here, so I have to like tether one of my phones to the other goddamn phone. So to get internet on it, because it's just there's no service, and so uh, I'm live on my phone that has the hotspot. I can't necessarily be playing video off the same. I mean, maybe I could. Does 5G do that? It's incredible, actually. You basically don't even need like a landline Wi-Fi setup. Like if you have a hotspot on your phone. I mean, I don't really watch like Netflix or anything. And like I said, I can't really upload other than doing this. I can't like upload. I don't know what my hotspot fucking like the limit of the data is or whatever the hell. I haven't really explored that. I'm trying to get a better goddamn. This thing is just right in my fucking face. It's crazy. I guess the only way to get it on my face is it's gonna be in my eyes. Maybe that's why it was better from the side. That'd be kind of cool to have it. Oh, maybe I can put it over here. I guess. Let me try that. Just fast forward this part. I was watching right now. This is like the one. Well, that's that. Yeah, so, those who know me, part of my whole mission is to have just no budget whatsoever. Anybody can, I got everything here has been supplied, I swear to God, actually, by Five Below. My monopod, my tripod, my selfie stick was, I think, $5. My phone case from Five Below, my projector, $20 from Five Below. So we're brought to you by Five Below here, people. You know how much I love it. I'm talking about it constantly, so it is really annoying having this in my fucking eye the whole time. I guess there's no way around that. We'll see how long I can do this. This is just probably not good for my vision or something. Oh, I did want to let me break this news on the internet. I just got an email the other day. I got a piece accepted to this magazine, The Scene Life, The Scene magazine. So I'll be in The Scene magazine in May, people. Shout out to The Scene magazine, MT Paridi, for sharing my piece. I haven't really, I don't know. It's just not a regular part of my practice as an artist to be sending stuff out constantly to be published, to send to zines or anything like that. And so I don't know, I'm starting to like try to, now that I'm sort of back on my own again, I'm sort of starting to try to rethink how I approach everything. Okay, so this is something I've been thinking about. Professor Zhang, one of the things, okay, one of the things he talked about in this interviews I watched was he worked for Gay Talese, the writer, the famous New York writer Gay Talese, who Professor Zhang refers to as probably the last great living American writer. I think he's definitely probably the last of like those media titans of like the Norman Mailer, Tom Wolfe, uh, like magazine New York, Dapper. Like I guess there's like Jay McNerney, people like that. But Gay Talese, I don't know. He's kind of the last of a certain. I don't know if I'd say he's the last great American writer, but I can understand somebody who might describe it that way. Professor Zhang worked as a translator for him, I guess, for like 6 months, and he said Gay Talese treated him like a son. So they were Professor Chang is very close with Gay Talese, who is actually sort of out and about in the town even now. There are definitely literary events at the seaport. I've seen Gay Talese like I had one of his books. I left at the Sluge. It was about New York. It was some Gay Talese book about New York. And it was actually now looking back, that stuff was more available. You could go to Housing Works in Soho and just find the funkiest old bohemian stuff from the whatever 60s for like 50 cents. So this Gay Talese book, I'm sure I found it on the street or it was on the dollar rack or something. Now it would probably be it'd be some internet collectible. It'd be on Abe Books or something. It'd be $75 or something. But at the time, the value of these used books was just like completely different. 2010 through 2015. And so I think I just left it to the sluice when I moved out. Knowing what I know now, I would have held on to it. But who the fuck knows? It's like I was saying yesterday. It's hard to maintain your book collection, move them around and shit. It's part of the picaresque adventure of it all. You know, dragging all of these fucking books from apartment to apartment to apartment. How many neighborhoods have I lived in at this point? I've lived in Park Slope, Midwood, Chelsea. That was sort of like Harlem, Morningside Heights. They called it Bloomingdale, Central Park West area, Upper West Side, I guess you'd say. Uh, Ridgewood, Bushwick, Greenpoint, kind of a red flag in a way. It's almost like I'm ran through neighborhood wise. I'm promiscuous. I've lived everywhere. So anyway, Professor Zhang was Gay Talese' assistant, and he said the advice that Gay Talese gave to him, something about Gay Talese had all these orgies in California, and his wife, Nan Talese, or something, had fucked up the relationship, blah, blah, blah. Gay Talese advice to him, and keep in mind, Professor Zhang is like Christian. That's like a big part of his. I don't know. He sort of wants to be this like humble, I don't know, man of working, doing good works or something. But he said Gay Talese told him to don't chase pussy. That was Gay Talese's advice to Professor Zhang, who's not actually a professor. He's a high school teacher. Um, Gay Talese's advice. Gay Talese, who was having orgies in California, that apparently were being reported on by the New York Times, told Professor Zhang to don't chase pussy. I mean, I don't know. I can understand what that advice means. I think at a time where like there's all these incels and men who don't know how to talk to women, that could be taken the wrong way. But I understand. What I would say that what that really is saying is don't focus on that. Focus on whatever it is that you are to, to do. Whatever your path is, your practice, whatever. Focus on that. Focus on if it's writing, if it's reading, performance, whatever it is. Fucking buying a house, building a business. Don't chase pussy. The pussy will come. Or I don't know. I mean, like I said, he's Christian, so I think to some degree he just thinks that that's not like a value. It's not. There's no depth to that. It's kind of like an errant, misguided. I don't necessarily think that he's like Puritan about it. I don't think he thinks it's like wrong or like a sin per se. But I think he's just saying that one of the things Professor Zhang, and I hope he's not the Chinese Alex Jones or some kind of right wing plan, although I'm sure he probably is. He was saying that he does all this different stuff. It's like he did skydiving. He took some kind of martial arts lessons. I forget what kind. It wasn't capoeira, but it was something like that. Muay Thai or something. He has all these other interests. He tries all of this other stuff. Like he was saying, he tried being a chef. Uh, I think that's kind of a smart thing to do with your life is just constantly try new things, try to learn new things. Professor Zhang was a fucking stand-up comic. That was kind of infuriating. It makes perfect sense. So, I mean, in a certain way, he's just another fucking pop comedy podcaster. But he was a stand-up comic. I forget exactly what he said his story with that was, but he said he's been married the same. He said the way he met his wife, they were like drawn to each other, and it was like as if the hand of God or something. It's like I get that. That doesn't happen to everybody. The hell are the rest of us supposed to do? Uh, I've tried to work at. I've never not. I've always written stuff, made little films, made little plays, poems, fucking this. Live streaming, I guess, blogging is more like a quick fix. Doesn't take the discipline and the money and the time that making a real movie or writing a real piece does. You just bam, get it all immediately out there. Uh, it's sort of a guilty pleasure or a vice, maybe. Maybe we should go out on that. Let's go out on the patio for a second. Well, hold on. Let me keep rambling for a sec. It helps when I sit to be able to dial in, lock in, uh, sink into flow state or whatever. If we ever get there. Um, what was I saying? I mean, I am sort of obsessed. I have a diverse interest in the arts. You know, I do music, I do poetry, I write play type things. I do this, whatever the hell you want to call this. I'm a host. I've published. I've done a lot of different things. Event planning. I take pictures at the fucking open mic. I vlog. I'm an award-winning public access filmmaker. I was in a film last year. But it's like it would be not I do need some kind of like professional leg to stand on in a way. It's getting harder. It just feels like we've been obliterated as poor people or as broke bohemians. There's just no way. There's no way out. There's no back. You know, there's no like, oh, I'll just move to Columbus and get in a room for $200 or $400. Like that doesn't really exist. It's like they have priced everybody up to their ears, and so you've got to figure out how to get rich, or you're a slave. You know, or you're a wage slave now. You got to work your whole life just to fucking pay your rent. So I don't know. I don't know. Trying to figure out the path forward. I guess now that I'm 41, you know, I'm sort of halfway through my life. In a certain way, I've been living like in anticipation of like, well, later I'll settle down and like, may, but I'm 41, you know, like later I'll settle down, like write the novel or something, you know, like when I look back, okay, I've had 20 years, basically more than 20 years to like make something happen artistically. And I have a number of like books that I published myself that I'm very proud of, that I think are very real. You know, like I do think my work is like real. I think my vlogs are kind of unappreciated, or not unappreciated, but they're underrated. They're under uh there's under awareness, you know, there's under consideration for what it is. And you know, I sort of have tried to opt out of any kind of getting validation from outside. You know, I've just tried to like do DIY where it's like I make things, I throw events, and I display the things. You know, whether that's showing vlogs at the library or Young Ethel's or on YouTube, doing the open mic, putting that on fucking YouTube, performances here and there, publishing, whatever the hell it is. Um, you know, I think that my works are interesting. Romana Clay, LA Story, the City Life book. Are they like normal books? Like, did I sit down and like write a 300-page novel? Like, no. Did I make like a 90-minute long film with like a script? Like, no. I did not do that ever. I've made a lot of vlogs that are fucking 3 hours long that I think in certain ways are everything that I would want to do in a movie. That's the point of doing it. Is like the vlog is just like denuded, like it's more natural, it's more kind of transcendentalist. It's not quite, but at the same time, now I'm like looking back and I'm like, well, you know, when 25 when I moved to New York. First of all, that's very late to get to New York when you're 25, almost 26. You're already old. Like there's tons of people in New York that are like not even 21 that are out playing, collaborating. They're out every night. They're in the village. They're in wherever. There's plenty of people that are 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 that are like hitting it and they're like smart. They got nice clothes. They're attractive, whatever. And, I've, in order to be an artist, I've tried to make everything as for free, basically. That's my technique. It's just like, what can I just make for free? I can live stream, I can vlog. I don't have to twiddle my thumbs about some script. Is the script right or the script sucks? A lot of the movies I made, I did make real movies in college. And to be honest, I regret that I gave up. Well, part of the reason why I've been reflecting on this because the Lena Dunham thing, right? Like she was sort of a contemporary. I don't know when she was born. I think she was born a few years after me, maybe. Um, what year was Lena Dunham born? She's more or less around the same age as me. So she's more or less a contemporary. And she started in college she was like a writer. She was a fiction student but she went to really good, she went to St. Anne's School in Brooklyn, which is like this, I mean, you couldn't really get a better kind of high school experience for like a creative or something to have that be nurtured, I imagine. It's kind of a special whatever school. And she, her parents were artists. She grew up in New York, blah, blah, blah. She went to Oberlin. So it's like, she had exposure to a lot of different kinds of work. And she was sort of applying like fiction workshop stories to like film. She wrote about her life as a young woman and her sort of like, mental health issues, having ADD or whatever the hell it is, her sort of questionable hookups with questionable guys. There's a little bit of danger there. There's a little bit of like, we've all been there or something, other women understand. And, she made this movie, Tiny Furniture or whatever. And to be honest, it was not that, it, there's no reason why didn't I make Tiny Furniture? Like what was special about Tiny Furniture? It was a feature movie and it was more or less what Girls was gonna be. I didn't see all, like I said, I didn't see all of Girls, but I saw Tiny Furniture, around whatever, 2010. I remember there was an article in the New Yorker about Lena Dunham. She had this movie at South by Southwest and she got an HBO deal. This was before Girls, but like after Tiny Furniture. And it was just like all about how Lena Dunham was going to be this big thing. And, they were right. But, Lena Dunham grew up within this New York media, within reach of that. She was at least savvy to the goings on of that kind of thing. Not that that was her goal per se, but, it's a shorter distance for somebody like that to make it to the New Yorker than somebody like me to come out of fucking nowhere. Unless I got some big audience, on the internet or something, or got into South by Southwest, or, even little things like that. I think going to Oberlin, being hooked into these kind of inside track artistic worlds, it's a shorter distance. Like there's a reason why people like Jack Antonoff or Scarlett Johansson. It's like they're both from New York. They both grew up on the fucking Upper East Side. Like they're just that much closer to the machine. You like it's no coincidence that a lot of the famous people are from New York, Long Island, New Jersey. It's like it's there's a mega media apparatus here that is looking for talent. And so if you're near that, it's a lot easier to get sucked into it and blown up. But also you're around that kind of industry. And so there's certain things you're not necessarily green to it. I mean, Lena Dunham's parents were like art world people, so they're almost like poets. In fact, I think her sister is a poet, Grace Dunham. I think they're trans. Uh, and to be honest, like Lena Dunham's work is like new narrative or something. It's almost like it's autofiction. It's like here's my sexual kind of trauma or like weird experiences I've had, my body dysmorphia, my mental health issues. She was that's when she first appeared on the scene, it seemed like she was useful to the legacy media, to the monoculture, to the establishment. That's what they wanted our generation to be about. And so Lena Dunham was really the perfect kind of spokesperson for this kind of, I don't know, sympathy culture. Everything is about body positivity or previously marginalized, previously oppressed. Even the male character, Adam Driver, is like different than sort of a Hollywood typical. He's like big, he's got big hands, he's kind of weird looking, he's temperamental, he works with wood furniture, but that's all like hot. That's see, because it's a show that is part of what it was remarkable and important about Lena Dunham, right? It's like it was a show about girls, written by girls, made by girls. It's their point of view, it's their story, it's female gaze. They got to choose what the fuck it was going to be about. It wasn't like Aaron Spelling, the girls, or something, you know? It wasn't Joss Whedon's girls or who's the guy who made the OC? It was a 20, she was 25 or 26 or something when she started doing an HBO show. But there's a simplicity to a lot of what she does. It's not like she's fucking Godard or something or Fellini. Like she doesn't to me her model, right, is she wants to make like broadcast news. She wants to make like a rom-com. She wants to make like a Nora Ephron movie from like the 80s. She wants to make Heartburn or like uh terms of endearment. Lena Dunham's movies have way more in common with like Sleepless in Seattle or James L. Brooks shit than like, you know, pretentious art cinema. Other than the fact that like the content is sort of what was avant-garde about it. The fact that it's like she's not your traditional leading lady. Her body is kind of she doesn't look like fucking Claudia Schiffer or something. She looks like, but she's naked in every fucking. That was like a big part of her work. Was like putting her big fat ass get fucked by some weird chef guy in like a fucking air shaft or something, and making bad decisions as a millennial. Her work is like very millennial. It sort of epitomizes it, and that's why, in a certain way, like I don't really relate to it or like I don't feel like it represents me or something. I feel like I don't know, my life kind of predates that world and I'm not seeing New York through like Lena Dunham's eyes. Greenpoint like a lot of younger people might. But at the same time, when I look back on my own life, I'm like, why wasn't I able to make like a 90-minute like feature film that was just like sort of plain and about like my own life like a Lena Dunham movie. Why in 2010, 11, 12, like, to be honest, like, I just stopped kind of being interested in that. I mean, when I moved to New York, you gotta uproot your whole life and you gotta travel light. It's like I never really was able to plant that deep of roots here. I mean, I was lucky to get into the sludge where I lived for like the first 6 years, but like even that was sort of a, I mean, the one room I had was $900 a month and it was a nice room, but it was like that's a lot of money to like come up with every month. And you got to have a job. My parents aren't paying for it, they're not paying half. And so I just couldn't do that. And then I had that tiny room, which like it sucks living in a fucking tiny room eventually. You get sick of it. And so I just wasn't that's why my cinema became this, because it was just like this is what I want to make movies about. This is how I make movies about my life. This is the movie I want to make. I want to make like a micro cinema poem movie that's autobiographical, that's sort of lyrical, that's scenic. It's about landscapes, it's about the sky. It's just like a poem. It's like a New York school poem, except in your pocket in a HD 1080p. And it's like the shit I was writing was autobiographical anyway. And so to me, it did feel cutting edge and groundbreaking to just do this. The thing is, I don't people don't really look at vlogging like it's a legitimate movie. It's not this making a fucking vlog that nobody watches. I mean, I did win a goddamn filmmaking award. I won a public access. I won the free speech award, goddamn it. And so technically, I am like an award-winning filmmaker. And I was a goddamn videographer at the same time. I was uh working professionally, shooting all this fucking B-roll and shooting all these events and blah blah blah. Oh, let me sit here. I'm on my smoke patio out here, my sky deck. This is where the poetry happens. I want to hit my vape real fast. I just don't want to get that vape smell. Um, so a lot of it was just like I have no money, and to me it was experimenting with this new technology, these new tools. It was novel, it was groundbreaking to make it this way. I mean, I did sort of lose I got so ground out with the film business and working on big movies and big sets and these directors like who are really full of themselves. And I auditioned for shitloads of commercials. A lot of the movies you get parts in, you don't get paid. And so it's like, yeah, it's fun to be in them, but a lot of time it's just like you go to some set, you hang out for hours, they don't use you, they send you home, and you're not getting paid either. So it's like, and you have some fucking small part in it or something. It's like, now I can appreciate that more. Now I think I would like to do stuff like that, but when I was young, I just was full of myself. And, when I got to New York, it's like I didn't even try to I never auditioned for anything but TV commercials. I never auditioned for a movie here or a play or anything. I didn't know how to get involved with that. I don't want to go on backstage.com and you got to pay for it or something. All these acting websites are like a fucking nightmare. Actors Access, Central Cast, it's all like it's just more online portals, which my loyal viewers know that I just hate that stuff. That's like kryptonite to me. Anything that has a fucking password, anything that requires a password, it's just like I'm out. I fold. I can't do it. I can't get on Actors Access, man. It's like, but I would like to get into the self taping and all that shit. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I just when I was younger, that was like most of what I wrote was like scripts. And it's just frustrating to think, I had all these scripts that I wrote that were actually pretty interesting that I just never made. It was a lot harder to make a movie before iPhones. Like that's what people don't really realize. Like before, 2013 or 14, you people weren't just shooting HD video everywhere. You still had to have a DSLR camera, which like you kind of had to know how to use that. There's some fucking learning curve there. It's not just like an iPhone where it's just you shoot, you point it and press the red button. And so, like I remember I made this movie uh the summer before I moved to New York, summer 2010. And it was like a Tennessee Williams, Sam Shepard ripoff. It was garbage. But we shot it on these Canon, these big fucking Canon cameras that like this was before SD cards, I think. You still had to have fucking tape. This was 2010. And it was HD, I think technically, but it didn't look that good. DSLRs really revolutionized the whole fucking thing. And well, that looks kind of cool. And iPhones, I mean, took it even further, where it was just like, when I first got that iPod Touch, that's when I realized like, oh, now you can just film life and it looks like a movie. It looks pretty cool. Before that, it wasn't really you couldn't really do that any kind of like discreet way. You certainly couldn't do it. The iPhone just made it accessible and easy and shit like that. I don't know. As a poor person, that it held me back. When I was in fucking high school, I wanted to be in this computer class because it was the only way to get access to editing equipment. And when you were in the class, you part of being in the class was like you learn flash animation, you make little movies with they had DV cameras at school. This was like 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. It was like I did not have access to that stuff at home. There was not really cheap consumer video. Like computers were not there yet. I had a fucking VHS-C camcorder that like I I appropriated from my parents. And like, it had this big tape that you had to put the little tape in, and the big tape had it was like, it was like a fucking train or something. It had gears. It was like this pneumatic, it was steam powered. It was just way more mechanical. And so editing was impossible. Everything we made in high school, there was no editing because I didn't even have iMovie or anything until like I was probably like 20. And so I tried to get into this fucking computer class because I wanted to make a movie. I was in class all day drawing storyboards. I was obsessed with film, you know, and I had all these scripts. And to be honest, they were pretty interesting. I wish I would have made some of them because they were just like slice of life things. They weren't like trying to be some fucking, I don't know, Tennessee Williams knockoff or something. They were just like, they were very natural. They were pretty interesting. And I should have just shot that stuff. I had pages and pages of stuff. I should have just did it. But eh, this is part of being a filmmaker is like you have to be determined and you have to like fight to like make this stuff real. You have to just fight and fight and fight and fight. That's part of being a certain kind of director. And me, I'm avoidant and lazy, and that's why I do this. because it's like taking the easy way out. It's like the shortcut. It's just like we'll just cut all of the nobody needs to remember any lines. There's no lighting. No, we don't need any lighting. We don't need any sound. Uh, you know, we don't need to rehearse. New York kind of drives you into those things. New York drives you into these circumstances where like everybody works so much, everybody's all over the place that like you that's why people end up doing improv or like stand up because it's like it's just the easiest thing to be able to get up and do. You don't like when we rehearse for plays in Ohio, it was like you do 6 weeks of rehearsal 4 times a week or something. And then you do 4 weeks of a play. It's like I guess you do that on fucking Broadway or some shit. You do more than that, but most plays that you're in New York, it's like some Shakespeare thing. So you rehearse a few times and then you go and do it. If that, it's just like it's very. You're just scraping everything together, and everybody's just scrambling around to do it at all times to do everything. And so, uh, why am I talking about this? This is my midlife crisis. Well, like I'm just thinking about going forward, what I want to do. Like I'm reading this script that Ashley wrote. It's like it's really a fucking good script. She wrote this script, Baby Doll, and it's like it's really well done. But I'm just, I'm looking back at my life and I'm like, what did I do wrong? I have all these books and I have all this work, but it's so raggedy and like it's meant to be kind of like scraps. It's meant to be like these vlogs. They are these like just scraps and there's something about them that's meant to be just like kind of uh thrown together or patchy or uh have holes in it or something. It is a way of making film, no matter what at all cost. I don't know. It's just I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it this way better. I don't know what I do is so almost not mediated in any way. Like I don't add anything later. I don't add music, at least at this point. I don't edit hardly at all. It's like I made movies in high school. It's just like I got a camcorder. I'm just shooting a bunch of stuff, and then I put it. I string it together. That's how I like it. But I'm also like, I need to like write a book. Like, why don't I have like a book that's 200 pages that just like a normal person can read and be like, wow, this is good. When I was 30, I more or less stopped trying to do that. When I was 30, that's when I sort of got it in my head to try to like embrace techniques that uh facilitated the point that I wanted to put across, I guess. Things that are a little more self-indulgent. Stream of consciousness, free jazz, noise music type things. Uh Not rehearsing, improvisation like this, similar thing, where it's like it's not really planned out, it's not scripted, it's not even I don't even have a fucking microphone. Every jack off, now they've got a fucking ring light and a goddamn everybody. They literally it's crazy to me. They sell like podcasting equipment at like Target. Like, yeah, I'm just some normal guy. I'm gonna go to Target, I'm gonna pick up like some detergent and some suntan lotion and like a fucking ring light and like, some kind of condenser mic. What the fuck are they doing? They're just playing video games, probably, I guess. Video games are like the normie. It's like it doesn't. You don't have to. You're not really doing anything artistic. Like if you're playing video games online, it's like the perfect thing for like a normal person to do online. It's not like this where it's just like this endless. diatribe. Like the only interest that people would have in this is, whatever, as long as I can continue to. But this has a very niche audience, whereas like, or even like I don't know. So it's just like stream video games, even music similar, where it's like it's kind of an artistic thing. You have to have talent to have people want to watch you do that. Whereas like any jack off can go on and play, Call of Duty, or I don't even, what the fuck are people playing now? Fortnite, Roblox. What the hell is Roblox? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what that is? I have no clue what the fuck Roblox is. I do. Do young people even know what that is? There's like millions of people. There's probably billions of people that play goddamn Roblox, and yet most of us are in the dark culturally to any with no clue what the hell it even is. So yeah, I'm talking shit about Lena Dunham. I don't know. I mean, should I watch? I would like to watch Girls. I'm sure it is good, but it's also just like I said, it's not really like technique wise. It's just kind of like they have a nicely shot show that's sort of like they got a bunch of writers. They hired a bunch of like smart women writers. And I mean, to be fair, it's like there aren't really other examples of shows that stand out like that. Like Girls is kind of like this classic where it's like his Search Party like that, or fucking Garfunkel and Oates, or I don't even know what the hell is out there. New Girl, like Girls kind of is like it's the closest thing probably to like, I don't know, a Sally Rooney novel, or like that everybody's read. It is almost like a Jane Austen thing, or Little Women. It's Sex in the City. But it's just nice cinematography. They shot New York. It's not necessarily some groundbreaking idea. It's like a Woody Allen show, basically, except and it rips Sex in the City. It's kind of like uses that as a template for it's these four women and they're sort of types. And so you can read, and then she's got a gay friend, and then there's the guys, there's the Jewish guys that they, are in love with. Who's the one guy? He's on the show about the show, Alex something Carpathian or something. He's like a fucking hangs at a Beats candy store and shit. Karposky, and of course Adam Driver, who like is like the movie star. He is the millennial star. He was in everything. I mean, he was in every goddamn movie. Every major director like wanted Adam Driver. Jarmusch, Francis Ford Coppola, Star Wars, you name it. They wanted Adam Driver. And I don't, I don't dislike the guy, but I don't see how I fit into the Girls universe. Girls was like, was there a character that represented me? Where's the toxic bro poet open mic host character? Fucking and then but it's just weird how even still that show has this. Christopher Abbott is knocked up Aubrey Plaza. He's in fucking Death of a Salesman on Broadway at the Winter Garden Theater. His name's in the marquee with Nathan Lane and Laurie Metcalf. He knocked up Aubrey Plaza, who's like everybody's, kind of like secret crush or whatever, or maybe not so secret. And he was on Girls, so he's living large. And I don't know. New York is a small town. These people grew up here. Lena Dunham grew up here. It's not as hard for somebody like that to climb that mountain. Me, it's like, what the fuck was I gonna do? Make some movie at Ohio State University with a bunch of fucking like undergrad acting students? I tried. I don't know why I chose to make the scripts I made. I had really interesting stories that meant something, and I just didn't know how to like wrangle my friends into learning the line. Like none of my friends could really act. That's another thing. It's like when you're trying to make a movie, it's like you see how bad people are at acting. Like none of it goes the way you think it's going to go. You have this idea in your head about how they're going to read the lines, and then you put them in front of the camera. It looks like shit. There's no lighting. Sounds like shit. I don't have any money for any equipment at all. I don't have mics. I don't have a fucking boom operator. You out of your mind? It's Columbus, Ohio. It's like I got my friends from high school to be in this. Like they can't even do a line reading. They can't memorize this shit. They can't memorize like a bunch of My Dinner with Andre dialogue. That is what I want to do, but you come to New York and there's all these fucking people that are actors and writers and everybody who does everything and they want to do it. And so, I still want to have that experience. I still want to have that experience where it's like, okay, I'm going to make a fucking 90-minute movie that's like, I'm going to write a goddamn script. The open mic host. It's going to be my life story. I'm going to play myself. It's going to be like the jazz singer. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Um, just kidding. It's a joke. It's going to be like who played themselves in their life story. I'm sure there are examples of people doing this. Um, so yeah, Lena Dunham did it. She made tiny furniture, and her friends were good at acting. They were all nepo babies, right? That was kind of like the first nepo baby. It was the first big like millennial indication that like we were fucked as outsiders trying to just like scrape our way to the top. It's like it wasn't going to happen. You can't get on Broadway anymore. It's like it's all celebrities or people that like their parents spent thousands of dollars for them to go to like fucking theater camp or some kind of Shakespeare intensive at the public theater or well, Chapel Rowan, what her parents spent $3,000 for her to go to like Grammy camp when she was like a fucking teenager. Like these people were like, like Taylor Swift. Her fucking parents moved to Nashville and shit. They paid a bunch of money. They bribed Scooter Braun or whatever the guy's name is. So I'm making excuses here, okay? This is my bitter middle-aged failed jazz musician diatribe. It was always meant to be this way, I guess. Like and subscribe at any time, people. I've gone dry on new subscribers. I mean, YouTube shadow banned the fuck out of my shorts. Literally any short I post gets 0 views. They've choked out my YouTube shorts for some reason. I was too controversial. And so that was how I was getting new subscribers. So I'm not getting any subscribers anymore because I've been censored by the fascists at Google. And anyway, yeah, when you graduate college, when you become an adult, like you got to make a living, you got to get a job, you just become a part of this. Even just getting by, it's hard to uh this is one reason why my work is the way it is because it's like this is the best I can do. I mean, who the fuck has time to like sit down and write a novel? Uh, I want to be out living my life. I want to be out walking around, going to events, socializing. Like I'm taking notes, I'm writing the whole time, but I don't know. I've tried to like incorporate my process into the activity. Living in New York, and trying to have a life, trying to have adventures, uh, gets in the way of, or that's why I just film it. Like I don't know, for whatever reason, it just became harder to find the financial stability. I haven't had an hourly wage job since 2012. And so, without that ground to like work off of, it's very hard to like have any kind of like long-term project. This is why poetry is so useful, because it's like you can literally write a poem anywhere, anytime, can be short. Poem is Poetry is kind of the most reader friendly experience too, because it's like you read it how you want to read it. You could make it easy to read if you want. Whereas like prose kind of demands your understanding, it demands full attention, it demands kind of this coherent, linear comprehension. Poetry, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can make it real easy and breezy and yeah, so I'm complaining about Lena Dunham. She was like a leader of our generation. It's like she I don't know, was one of the most apparent mainstream uh kind of showcases of like body positivity, feminine, female voices, feminism, you might say. Uh the way that she saw men, the things that were attractive on her show became more like embraced by the culture and how people saw themselves. Suddenly all these guys are building furniture, or that's sex. It's sexy to be sort of like this weird, mysterious, like ogre. Let's go in the kitchen for a second. What do you say? Oh my god, what have I done? 60 minutes. So I'll do 2 hours. I had 3 people watching and then they left. What happened? Was I just boring? I was too boring for everybody. What do I have to do to get fucking people to watch this thing? Other than, make some kind of production value and plan it out and make it good. This is what I've done in lack of the ability to do what I'm talking about. Write a novel. It's like my life. And then Trump happened. When fucking Trump happened in 2016, it was just like all the old forms, all the old ways of doing things, having any kind of like authority as like a white guy. It just blew all that apart. And that's one reason why my work is the way it is. Because it's just like everybody's lives just like explode the world that we had before. And so did the material circumstances. My consciousness changed. The things that I saw that were possible. But I feel like when I do that stuff, that's like what the audience like rejects. When I try to do stuff that's like avant-garde or something, like they want something more traditional. They just want like a normal poem. They want like a story. They want prose. They want something they can listen to and like kind of understand. That's gonna like move them. Like Lena Dunham stuff is just like stories about people hooking up or people dating or trying to live in a city, trying to make it after college, whatever the hell it is. It's not necessarily like some esoteric. It's not John Cage or something. I got the crazy idea, like that's what I would try to do, stuff more like that. I try to do stuff that was more esoteric or less commercial, less traditional, less packaged, less product. That stuff is all product. You can sell a 300-page novel. You can sell a 90-minute movie. Or you could. I mean, that's the other element of this is now it feels scarier than ever to try to write a novel or even make a movie or write any kind of scene. It's just like AI could do this in like that. Not that it would necessarily be any good, but it's just terrifying once again because there's all of this, you know, pressure to make money now. The other thing is now we're in a much more distracted world. I when I was younger, the big challenge to being artist and especially being a writer was the internet. It was like, how am I going to sit down and write my novel today without going on the internet and like just fucking around on Facebook or on Wikipedia? I'm talking like 2007, 8, 9, 10, before smartphones really took over the world and before apps and HD video. Like, there was some sense that you were like trying to figure out a way to write on a computer, but like that didn't have the internet. And, so it was the internet came in and then it became the phone and then it became the apps. I mean, I don't know exactly what I was doing on the internet in 2009 or let's say, or 2008. Like, what the fuck were we looking at? Blogs, I guess. Uh, but as writers, there was something that was definitely changing. People's ability to focus, writers' ability to focus. In the 20th century and before that, 19th century, 18th century, it's like they had huge, huge amounts of time. They were isolated. They're just in their apartments or whatever. They have a book. They have the whole day. What the fuck are they going to do? They got a phone. Maybe they don't even have a phone. It's like they're going to sit around. They'd have to call a friend if they want to do something. Maybe they'll walk around. But it's like the world was much more disconnected, much more, uh, you were kind of isolated. It was much more localized. Wherever you actually were, that's where you were. So it's like you could sit around reading all day. Now it just feels like there's so much pressure from email, from apps, constant demand of tech. Anybody can just perforate your solitude at any fucking time with messages, demands on your attention. And so, but we're all living in this kind of like shared space at all times now, where it's like, YouTube, we're all kind of potentially on YouTube at any time. You get on, I get on, you guys can watch the videos, you get on regularly, get on Instagram, get on Twitter, get on. It's just like uh doing something offline, like writing. feels almost like risky. It's like, oh, I got to be on. Is the reception everything good here? Like now this is like as good a chance you have, especially as an artist, right? Is like writers need to make fucking short form videos and shit just to promote their book, just to even, like that is the job. Everything is fucking video now. Everything's short form video. Fucking the war is short form video. Like the government is short form video. Like, and so the idea that you're like gonna go somewhere and like isolate yourself and write some novel, your phone is in your pocket at all times and can puncture your concentration and take you to an endless world of distraction that's just meaningless, where you're just scrolling through the different apps and like literally nothing new is even happening. Maybe you're getting like a little bump of a like here and there or a story view, but the material realities of adulthood are kind of like petrifying to me, to the point where it's like, I mean, I probably could have written, 10 fucking books in the last 15 years if I really like uh, just focused on that, I guess. But there's no financial safety, there's no security whatsoever. And so you're sort of in this state of panic at all times. And I think that's what you see in my writing is like anxiety, just trying to get it quick and dirty because that's all you can do. I do think there's value in just like as artists, you need to figure out a way to make things under any circumstances. And in fact, that probably has a lot to do with the work that you make. Whatever your material circumstances are or surroundings affects what you're able to produce. If you're Julian Schnabel and you've got some giant fucking studio, you make giant paintings, and like you find these Mexican blankets or whatever the fuck it is and plates and shit. But if you're a broke ass like me, then you get a bunch of fucking shit from the Five Below, and that's what you are. That's what you're made of, and you make it work. You make it work any fucking way that you can. And not that this is some huge success, probably the opposite, but to me, I don't, it's why do we do it as artists? Do we do it so people like it? So people say they like it? So people follow us? Or to me, it's more just like an investigation or I mean, what would be a better way to do this? What would be a way to do this that would make it like accessible to millions of people? Like, I guess if I had better equipment, better lighting, better camera, maybe if I had a better haircut, if I got contact lenses, better clothes, set up some kind of reasonable backdrop, not just a fucking air mattress and a bunch of, you know, weed bags and stuff, $20 projector. I look like Buffalo Bill. But I don't know. To me, the essence of doing this is exploring, thinking out loud, and trying to make that into a work. There does need to be a certain amount of privacy and immediacy to it. To me, in my experience of filmmaking, especially, the equipment is the thing that gets in the way. All of the equipment is like the priority. The whole crew and all of the sound recording equipment and the boom and the light and it's all of that shit gets way more attention and respect, frankly, than the actors who are treated like circus freaks. and they're just brought in and they're supposed to do their little trick and then they're supposed to leave. And you wait around for your little showcase, but it's all about the equipment. And I just think that is the worst way to do it. Like, the equipment should be invisible. Like you want to create as an actor, as an artist, like you want a seamless sense of the reality. You want as much of a continuity to the uh, circumstances as possible. Whereas it's like you want the scene, you want to get into the scene, you want to lose yourself. You want the surround, you don't want a bunch of fucking equipment and uh they spend all this fucking time setting it up, and then this thing goes wrong, and then they need to get new batteries, and then this thing, and it's like that performances. It's like you're supposed to just get up and make it happen, and then in 45 seconds, and then we'll move on to the next thing. It's like I don't know. I don't want to do that. To me, the point of the art is to capture some truth about life. And in some ways, maybe the best way to do that is through some kind of artificial, rehearsed, planned thing where everybody, if there's clarity, what you're trying to show people, you're sort of underlining parts of the experience that, like, this is the story that you want to tell about it. Whereas for me, I don't know. I'm like more interested in how things actually happen, the weird kind of chain reactions of patterns of speech, emotions, the way people actually talk, the way reality actually looks, and trying to live my life like an adventure, and I'm the character in the movie. That's the ultimate millennial thing, is we're all auto fictioning ourselves because that's what the internet tells us to do. Narcissism, profile, here's your Instagram, here's your little world in pictures and memes and what the fuck ever. And that's something you have to compete with. So how does one write a fucking novel in the Instagram world? Like, a lot of people are doing it. It's very chic, I think, to have a novel. Ben Fama's got a novel. But I don't know. The idea that you could make money from a novel now feels like so utterly impossible. I mean, there are people who get huge advances, and I suppose who are like superstar authors who make 6 and 7 figures, probably even. But I don't know. It just feels like it would take so much fucking time. But also, this is just like, this is maybe a limit of myself as an artist or as a person. Is like, this is another thing you have to contend with as an artist, is like all of the work that you're making is like, you're at the same time you're like teaching yourself how to do it. Like I had this line today, like, writing is learning how to write. It's like, even as you're making work, you're learning what works, and you're learning more stuff. You're learning new things. You're trying new things. You're pushing. You're developing. And there is. I don't know if you'd call it talent, but there are limits. Like, I can't tell you how many things, how many ideas I started and probably had 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pages of different screenplay ideas when I was younger, in addition to poems and other things, short stories. I had a number of different fucking movie ideas, like, dozens that, like, I had some, but I never really, I don't have a drawer full of screenplays that I can point to and be like, that's the 8 screenplays that I wrote in college that I never produced. Or, like, some people, I think Ashley has, like, a few novels that she can point to and be like, "Yeah, this is a novel I fucking wrote when I was 20, and this is a novel I wrote at," like, at Columbia, she had an MFA manuscript. That's a novel. It was probably only 180 pages or something, double spaced. What, 50,000 words, maybe 40,000 words? But it's like, I had a bunch of short stories that were like, probably when I was doing that, the thing that the idea was you write a bunch of short stories and then you compile that into like a book and then you sell that and then you write like a novel. That's like the thing that you try next. And I don't know. I when I was 25, I got obsessed with poetry for whatever reason. And for literally for the last 17 years, I've been like obsessed with poetry. Like literally, that's what I do. I read poetry, I write poetry, and it's a totally different mode of production than to try to write a novel or like a narrative marketable, like writing a fucking screenplay. It's very different. Like most people who are writing screenplays, it's like this business, like, here's how to sell your fucking screenplay. It's like you gotta format it this way, and you gotta have a fucking pitch it's Ghostbusters meets Rosemary's Baby. Let me go hit my vape real fast. So yeah, I guess this is what I'm saying. Is like there's limitations, like, hey, that's part of what being a filmmaker is like staying with it and doing whatever the fuck you have to do. Like the actual process of making the movie is no guaranteed thing. And like you have to go to some fucking location, you have to manage this whole crew, you got to manage a budget, things go wrong, you get delayed, blah blah blah. There's how many stories are there about films that like the shoot's a nightmare, they go over schedule or whatever it is. It's not like sitting and writing a poem in a fucking room. Like, and that's one reason why I think I turned to poetry when I became an adult because, like, financially and just like logistically, it's like manageable. It's like it brings the world into your little notebook, and that's the beginning and the end of the work. It's like once you write it down, it's like the poem is finished in a way. Whereas like a screenplay, it's like a lot of these ideas never get off the page. It's like they're in some drawer somewhere. They never get made. They never get filmed. The movies don't get finished. I'm living that vape life here on my smoke deck, my sky deck here. Let's check out this view real fast. Let me just show this to everybody. There you go. That is Manhattan. So I think that's the what is that? The H&M building. That's the Hollister building. It's the Pacific Somewhere building. So yeah, more pontificating about why I'm a failure as an artist. Well, I think it was exciting for me to discover that there were other ways. easier, less disciplined ways. And it definitely coincided with Trump and the just sort of melting down of all. It felt like the ways of doing it before were like kind of unpermissible. Writing fiction. I think this is one reason why people stopped using their imagination, because you couldn't appropriate other people's voices. It suddenly became wrong that like Hank Azaria was doing a poo on the fucking Simpsons. So as a fiction writer, it's like I remember in my novel I had a character who was like this character had like a black nanny. And it's like, what right do I have? It was just something that came to me when writing the fucking book, and imagining these characters from like the 50s or whatever. It was probably a cliche. It probably was like drawn from some other fucking thing that I had seen. It wasn't probably based I tried to base it in experiences that I had or witnessed or something. I think as writers, that's probably the most important source, is like things that you've actually seen and experienced. But at the same time, it's like it became not really that appropriate to do that. It's like, who is this white guy that's gonna fucking write, for these other characters or whatever? It became dangerous in a way. You just kind of have to write from your own experience, or you'll get canceled or whatever. And also as a white guy, it just became, like, uh, not about you at all. And in fact, and so it was easy to sort of become avant-garde or something, because no one was going to buy anything you were going to do anyway. Suddenly all of the creative industries just said, we're not hiring white guys anymore. We're not going to publish white guys unless they write fantasy novels or some bullshit like that. Unless you're George R. R. Martin. We still love George R. R. Martin, but for your like, narcissistic, sexist, like fuck boy James Franco knockoff poetry, great D-list James Franco. Like, sorry, we're just not buying that anymore. You had your moment. You had your indie sleaze moment. I was looking at all these pictures. There was this TikTok. It was like pictures from like 2007 and like the 2000s downtown New York. And to be honest, it was very white. Not only were like, I mean, like, not necessarily the people, like there was diversity, but like the way that people dressed was white. It was like twee hipster. Everybody looks like Zoe Deschanel, or everybody looks like a sailor or something. They all look like they're in Belle and Sebastian. Like, it was very white, and it doesn't feel that way anymore. There was no. It wasn't really like very queer coded or trans or anything like that. It was just like everybody's in a band called Noah and the Whale or something. Everybody's wearing like nautical. Uh, they look like Paddington. They're wearing like raincoats, and everybody's got bangs. Uh, those days are long gone. Now we're so anyway. It's 20 years later now. Um, what was I saying about? Yeah, so it was just like it was politically subversive. It was anti, I don't know, masculine dominant kind of forms. But in a certain way, I'm like, could I write that way again? Could I write like I did in 2013 or 14, where I was like more grammatically correct, more honestly, a lot of the poems that I wrote that people liked the best that I ever wrote were like prose that I wrote that I just broke into line breaks. So I don't know. I've been, I'm trying to like get my shit together to figure out how to do that again. Well, I think knowing now what I know, it's like you do kind of need to have some kind of big work that like puts you on the map or something. Like when you make a movie, when you make a tiny furniture, when you make a novel, you know, whatever. That's something that like can be a calling card. If you just have all these little fucking pieces of things, like, oh yeah, I've got I've got some fucking vlogs and I've got some songs on fucking, Bandcamp, but I've got like, poems kind of here and there. I've got like, it's like I don't really have one thing that I could be like, watch this. I wish people would watch my vlogs and take them seriously because they are like they're not just like home videos. I don't look at it that way anyway. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe I am just like a fucking dilettante who cannot get it done. And so I have to just like do this lazy shit instead. But to me, it's like I don't know. The beauty is there in life. I want to watch a movie that looks like life. I want to watch my vlogs. That is a movie I want to make. But I mean, they're not like John Wilson or something. Like John Wilson, like his shit is super punchy. It's super like edited, voiceover. A few that like Nathan Fielder. A lot of the biggest filmmakers are like these TV guys. They almost just make like TV documentaries. I want my shit to be more like Leaves of Grass. It's meant to be like a fucking Pablo Neruda poem about like the earth. It's not really meant to have like traditional hand holding the audience. It's meant to be like very low stimulation, very low mediation, less interference from the authorial hand or like subtler about it. Junk food. Maybe I'll roll another one. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 hours. What else do we need to talk about? The Pope and Trump. Of course, the Antichrist is getting into it. The Chicago Pope. Why did they pick an American Pope right now of all times? So strange. I saw this list. It was Nobel Prize winners who didn't deserve it, and apparently they gave it to this woman Pearl S. Buck in like 1937 or something. And they said she wrote some book, I think, exposing the conditions of like migrant workers or something. And they said that they gave it to her basically because they wanted to give it to an or no, this was Sinclair Lewis. I'm sorry, I'm conflating two different things. Sinclair Lewis. They gave it to Sinclair Lewis because they wanted to give it to an American. And that's how it kind of feels with the Pope. It feels like they thought it was an important time to have an American Pope. I guess to as a gesture to kind of help us or something in the era of Trump. Maybe it's like a vote of confidence. Um, this fucking air mattress has been deflating. I've had it barely over a week. It's already starting to be a piece of shit. Oh god, I gotta get my bag. Fuck. Where is it? So I can just do it right here. It's a good place. Supposedly, this marble is from the same quarry that Michelangelo's David came from. I just think that's how they sell countertops. Everybody with a marble countertop has some story about. Oh fuck! I'm out of rolling papers. Shit. Oh, I meant to buy more rolling papers while I was out. Damn it all to hell. This is bad. This is not good. Look at this. I'm having a breakdown on the internet. It's like Blow with Johnny Depp. It's like suddenly become a. I don't need rolling papers for everything. I hate smoking the warning paper. I hate it. It really doesn't work, but these are the desperate measures of being a real crackhead. I don't know what it is. For some reason, the weed has not really been making me high. I don't know if I'm having some kind of like chemical. Have I smoked like all of this THC that I can in one lifetime? I maxed out or something. I've 100%ed smoking weed. Uh, let's try it. See what happens here. This is probably another reason why I can't write a novel. Well, I never even really, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, for a lot of the last 2 years, I just thought that would probably be kind of corny. To me, it was like, I don't know, about writing some kind of form that was beyond the boundaries as, I don't know, because it just felt like that was the form I wanted it to have. I wanted it to have this like free, naked, uh, run on, wild, uh, unbridled quality. You wanted it to be unbridled, okay? Is that so wrong? This is unbridled. That's how I would describe my live streams. Okay? Unfucking bridled. And this, I want, this is like my poetry sanctuary. I feel like this is a holy place for poetry. It's like high on this cliff. It's this white. There's a lot of light coming in through these windows. Got a rooftop space. Got the balcony here. I would love to get my books in here. I think it would really work. But I think this could be a cool place to do workshops. I want to start to do some kind of poetry workshop or just like small gatherings, like I was doing in my apartment in Chelsea. I was having every Sunday just anybody who wanted to come over, talk about poetry, hang out, read some shit if they wanted to, just hang out, just see what happened. Just a poetry hangout. And I'm sure that's what people have been doing for the last fucking 3 years. But, it's nice to have your own space to be able to do shit like this. To be able to, like, hey, I'm going to have 6 people over to just, like, hang, smoke a little bit, whatever, have some drinks, kick the can around a little bit, shoot the shit. Maybe we'll read some stuff, talk about what we're working on. I was doing that in my place in Chelsea, November 22, December, and a lot of things came out of that. That was before a lot of these magazines, but like a lot of those people who started those fucking magazines were over at my poetry salons. So that's right, everybody. Look for my new poem. It's in the Scene magazine coming in May. My poem, No Flipping, which is from the Larry Sanders Show. Thank you to the Scene magazine for publishing it, for having the balls to publish Matt Proctor's controversial poetry. Let me just do it from here. Let me sit here. It's pretty cool angle. See, and it's a nice little live stream studio. I mean, I could do interviews. Maybe that's where I should start. I should invite somebody over to like do an interview. Trying to figure out what the hell the path forward is here. Now I can really get back to work. After having to sort of like be on my heels for the last 3 years. But it's about, I guess that's the whole point of this is like I want it to be about actually doing work, good work. I've been in New York long enough, doing events, performing, reading, whatever it is, working in these organizations, getting to know people. I feel like now I'm a little bit more ready to like impress what I want to do out there a little more with a little more confidence, with a little more authority. The whole time I've been in New York, I felt like this kind of imposter, outsider, insecure, you know, uh, trying to impress all these like really smart, sophisticated, chic, apathetic kind of New Yorkers. The costume in New York is like total apathy, total being unimpressed by anything. And in a certain way, like it's really hard right now because people don't really want to see work from like a guy like me. Like, I don't know, like I'm too old fashioned. I'm too like male, pattern, coded. And this is something I also think about is like as an artist, if you don't establish yourself by the time you're 25 or something, uh, what validity does the stuff that you do later have? Like, well, especially like commercially, most of the artists that like make money in the entertainment business get famous or whatever when they're like 20 something. And then the whole rest of their career is sort of like, you know, diminishing returns on that or something. Like for my generation, a lot of the stories already been written. It's like who are the people who led the pack? It's like fucking Lena Dunham, Taylor Swift, Nepo Baby, Lena Dunham, Allison Williams, David Mamet's daughter, Jemima Kirk is the chick from the guy's in Bad Company or something. Jemima Kirk's dad is in Mario Speedwagon. He's in Free. No, he's in fucking. I mean, at the time, that was kind of new. You're like, holy shit, Lena Dunham's show is like all these famous people's kids, Brian Williams' fucking kids. Now it's just like everything's like that. That show is groundbreaking and pioneering in so many ways. Generational, you might say. But it's like I said, it feels like it includes everything, but like I don't feel included in that. I do not feel like that show really represents me or like even like my New York experience. I don't know. If I watched Girls, would I be like, oh shit, this is what it was like? Is that what would tell my kids? Like, hey, if you want to know what it was like when I lived in New York, it was like Girls. I do think Lena Dunham was like making a show that wasn't like obsessed with the past or like remaking some kind of like romantic cliche. Like it was embracing what was happening amongst that generation at the time they were making it. They live in Greenpoint. They don't live on the Upper West Side. They don't live. Lena Dunham is our Evelyn Law. That's what it seems like to me. It's like sort of like a novel about a certain kind of like modern society. It's not really about like there's no people of color in the cast. It's about like white girls. That's what they should have called it. The Wayans brothers already did that, I guess. White girls. They should have called it White Chicks. It's what Alina Dunham originally wanted to call it. She wanted to call it White Chicks, but it's already taken. So they called it Girls. I don't know. I was just really banking on my vlogs taking off, I guess. But at the same time, I never really like my vlogs are kind of like this unbecoming sloppy. There's a lot of people who vlog who like make it way more compressed and finished and entertaining and shit. Okay, my vlogs are kind of just like uh um I'm trying to think of the right word exactly here. They're like scroungy. They're just a little bit, I don't know. Maybe they're just a little bit too sloppy or uh repugnant. That's a strong word. Like my hair, like everything. I cut it myself. My hair's like my poetry, uneven and with. I had some wine. My hair's like my poetry, and my vlogs are like that too. My vlogs are like that. This is like that. Everything I do is like it's like giving yourself a haircut. Am I Vidal Sassoon? Like no, but I like when people cut their own hair. I don't know, more original. What else do we need to talk about? Oh yeah, so the Pope and Trump are having like a Twitter fight. Good that the Pope stands for fucking peace, and he's outspoken about this. That he's anti-war. He's making no bones about it, and it's a time to do that. People are so outspoken about how the Iraq War was bad or Afghanistan or whatever. It's like, well, now's your fucking chance to speak out against a war because it's happening right the fuck now. So apparently, well, I was talking about this the other day. The Pope's brother is MAGA. Trump said the Pope's brother, who's much smarter than the Pope. The Pope is low IQ and a pussy. The Pope is soft on crime. The Pope of all people is soft on crime. Jesus Christ. Get Charles Bronson in there for Christ's sake. Is Clint Eastwood eligible to be the Pope? Let's get a real fucking Pope, not this fucking pussy ass Chicago. So his brother's MAGA. Apparently there was death threats to his brother or something. It's crazy. It's just more Trump delivering the goods. I mean, Jesus Christ. It really is the end of the world. I mean, it's exactly what would happen if the world was ending. Of course, the fucking Antichrist president, God, Emperor, Hinder of United States democratic experiment is fighting with the Pope, like threatening the Vatican, or he said they were going to nuke the Vatican, Tehran. Iran is going to nuke the Vatican. He's out of his fucking mind. And so, it's real funny. I don't know. It's just more laughs than a barrel of monkeys. Every day, it's a new fucking. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about JD Vance. He's going down. Well, I don't know. Did they send him to talk to the Pope, or I'm glad that everybody agrees? JD Vance is like a perfect example of like failing upwards. Like everything is wrong in our country because everybody just fails upwards. People like JD Vance, like JD Vance might be the president if Trump dies. Like that's all that has to happen, and JD Vance is the president. And it's like that's looking sort of likely. I would say that there is definitely some possibility Trump would could possibly die before 2028. I don't know if we can bank on that. He just seems to be really stubborn. He doesn't want to die, the son of a bitch. He's like Jason or something. It's just like, just kill this fucking somebody. How can we get rid of this guy? We cannot. We thought he was gone. He's back. It's the sequel. It's horrible. It's worse than the first time. But that's probably why he picked JD Vance. It's like, oh, the alternative is so much worse. As bad as Trump is, at least he's not JD Vance. Am I right? I mean, Jesus Christ. Let's make some pierogies. What do you say, people? I got it back in the microwave. This kitchen has a microwave, so it's like, fuck, I'll use it. I don't even know when the last time I had a microwave. I guess I actually had a microwave, but eating for me is such a personal thing. It's really nice to have your own space where like you can just prepare. It really helps me with my diet, to be honest. One of the reasons why my fucking diet is just and my health, has really deteriorated is because I just didn't have any private space at all to do that. And so just forget about getting groceries. Everything you eat is from fucking, store. And you're eating things that other people, you're subject to their, what they want to do. So it's nice to be up here in the poetry light world. Just thinking, I don't know. I guess I should just be writing. I haven't actually written anything. Well, that's not true. I did write some. I've been writing some lines down here and there. I don't know. It's taken me so long to develop this sort of like life technique where it's like I'm always kind of writing. Like the poem is always happening. Anytime a line occurs, boom, it goes into the notebook. This is happening. You know, when you live with the poet like Ashley, it's like the poetry is always in the banter and just sort of the way of life. And they're done. The pierogies are done. The hot pierogies. Hot, 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 hot. Oh, let's see, we got one. Oh God! See, I cannot figure out how to fucking keep the napkin from sticking. The paper towels keep sticking to the shit that I'm microwaving. So I did do some yoga yesterday. I did my little workout routine. That was the first time I've done that in like a few years. I don't know. I was just thinking about what Professor Zhang said about just, having more well rounded interests, not necessarily being obsessed with any one fucking thing, performance or art, or whatever, writing, literature, literary fucking bullshit, literary world. Like, who cares? Ultimately, who cares at this point? Like, yeah, it would be nice. The thing is, I guess I never really connected the dots about how this all would like add up into a career. I don't know. And I'm a performer, so it's like I get addicted to like the quick fix of that. And I've been focused more on that. Is like, how can I write pieces to read and go out and do open mics and like meet people and meet other poets and be like a social writer and a writer as part of like a social scene or like group of writers. I don't necessarily feel like I'm a part of any kind of movement or anything stylistically. Like Ashley's stuff is sort of like what I write and vice versa, but more often than not, I just feel alienated and estranged. Like I was gonna go to this open mic tonight at this place, Open Book, which I've been to before. It was at Fiction Bar, and they moved to this other place. That's like sort of like walking distance. It's not that close. It's like about an hour, but it's very traditional. It's people that are, I don't know, pretty straight and narrow, who like are writing like fiction that is pretty serious and conventional, and it's like a Raymond Carver type shit. But it's women, and I don't know. It's like very. It looks like the moth. Not that it's bad. It's like a lot of these people are good writers, and you can tell they're all like really serious about it. They have like workshops and shit. But I go in and I just feel like a derelict. And people are not really that impressed with my stoner dropout anti poetics. My like mental cartoon of schizophrenia. Uh, Total lack of discipline, total lack of achievement, trying to achieve something, just letting whatever the fuck happens. And a lot of it's kind of like what, I don't know, mid. I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I do the best I can. What can I say? This whole stream has been basically like a big apology for. So that is to say, I'm trying to figure out. Well, maybe I should. Is there any way possible I could get back to writing serious poems that are like vulnerable and moving and coherent and focused? I'm trying to. I don't know. Or is that all bullshit? As I'm getting older, I'm like, am I old enough that I'm ready to go and like write the story of my new? Like I feel like I've got at least two or three ideas for. Like I could write a novel about the whole Slooge experience. I could write a novel about open mic host. That would be its own fucking story, definitely. How many people have really seen it from the inside in that way? My journey as an open mic host. Inside the mind, what goes on in the interior life of the open mic host. I was walking by, because I walk by. There's this building on Broadway and like 52nd Street or something, and I'm pretty sure it's like the Paramount Building, or I think, what does it say? Alliance is what it says at the top, but in any case, it's the building that they used because I'm pretty sure Scorsese had a an office in the Brill Building, which is right next to this building on Broadway. But if you watch The King of Comedy, there's this whole scene where the Jerry Langford show is in this fucking building on Broadway and 52nd Street. And so there's all these scenes that they filmed in this plaza out front where De Niro and Sandra Bernhard are like waiting for Jerry Langford to come out of the revolving doors and plotting and talking and this and that and stalking him basically. And I'm like, I walk by this all the time because I love that little part of Broadway between Columbus Circle and Times Square is really amazing. That's where the Colbert thing is. I mean, Colbert is almost done. In like a month, Colbert will be done. How crazy is that? And then they'll fucking I don't even know. They're turning that into probably like a fucking one of those like escape room. They're gonna turn the Ed Sullivan Theater into one of those like escape room bars. But in any case, I realized as I'm like walking by this the other day, I'm like thinking about the King of Comedy and Jerry Lewis and Robert De Niro, and I'm like, I am Rupert Pupkin. I am more like Rupert Pupkin. I'm like in the way that he is like outside this building, like waiting for this fucking character, and has like all these fantasies about like what he's gonna say, and then when they're buddies, and when he has his slot of the show, it's like I'm exactly like Rupert Pupkin. I'm more like Rupert Pupkin. Like I am outside. It's like 40 years later, these people don't even exist. They're not even actually in there. I'm like living in this like fucking fantasy of this movie that happened like 40 plus years ago. That's not even real. Never was. At least he's like, kidnaps the guy. He has some initiative. He gets on TV. He gets famous. He gets the job done. Uh, so I don't know. That movie, I think, has only become more and more. It's about celebrity obsession, and I don't know, thinking that celebrity is gonna like give your life some kind of meaning or something. And so, by kidnapping Jerry Langford, by sort of cheating to get famous, it's a cynical commentary on how that works, how fame works, how celebrity works, what it means. Look at Donald Trump, probably one of the most famous. I mean, he's always been famous. Uh, so it's a weird part of our culture, and with the internet, and now it's like, I mean, everybody probably had fantasies about being famous before, but the internet like reveals those fantasies. The internet gives us this place where we can sort of enact or like strive to achieve those fantasies. We can create a practice where it's like, okay, if I'm a SoundCloud rapper or whatever, I create an Instagram, I do this. I mean, how many fucking jackoffs are doing this now? How crazy is that? I mean, I've been doing this. I've been doing this literally since like 2014, sadly, and sort of even before that. I wish I could get my old laptop to work because I would love to upload some of my photo booth monologues from like 2014, 15, 16. I have them all. They're all on my fucking MacBook from that era that for some reason stopped working. So I'd love to figure out how to get them off there, and I'd love to post that stuff to YouTube to show that I've basically been doing this exact thing. It's just now I don't know. That it's like this huge part of the culture now is these dumb. I mean, even like fucking Amy Poehler, and look at Smartless podcast. Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes are like rich from this stupid fucking podcast they do. and they do like live shows and shit. It's like Jason Bateman, I think, has made like probably tens of millions of dollars from his just for this dumb podcast. It's like that's an addition to being on whatever Ozark. And it's just the weird part about it is it's like the least labor intensive thing. You know, it's like Hollywood. It's like oh, there's scripts and there's union people and there's equipment and there's shooting schedules and we got all the we got to edit it. There's all this production to come up with like 22 minutes or 44 minutes or 2 hours, and then the dumbest people on earth can sit in a fucking garage smoking weed and just like shooting the shit and not even knowing what they're talking about. Probably spreading misinformation and just dumb kind of hearsay, hypothetical, erroneous falsities. And 3 hours of them sitting around doing this, and they'll have 15 million views or 200,000 views. They'll get as many views as Colbert. Colbert, like, famously, what? They spend $100 million a year on a show or something, $50 million. And yet, Tim Dillon probably gets as many fucking views as Colbert does. Or for fucking Club Random, sadly. How long should I do this? Okay, so I did do 2 hours. So now this is all just bonus time. There's this bar over here, Filthy Diamond. MCP was playing there tonight. I wanted to go over, but I don't know. I've just, I've been, I needed a day off, and I don't, the thing about that Monday every week is it's really like a 2 or 3 day because your next day is totally ruined. And it's like I'd love to like there was an open mic tonight, like I was saying at that open book thing. There was, and it's just like I can't. It's too quick of a turnaround. I need some me time. I need to just sit around and like gather my thoughts. Need to rest my body. It's bed rot time. And then I've been meaning to like do a stream from this environment and this backdrop and things. And so I don't know. When you're unemployed, you just have to like feel your way through life based on vibes. And it's a day by day thing where you're just like, you're trying to figure out what's the best use. I am going to finish my blog this weekend. It's nice out. I mean, it's super. I mean, it was hot today, but like, the last few days and tomorrow are supposed to be pretty nice. So I'm trying to just take advantage of that. And then next week, it's supposed to sort of go back to being chilly again ish, which kind of sucks. But I mean, I went to Central Park yesterday and the fucking cherry blossoms and shit were already gone. I mean, I think I was there, what, last Friday? And all of the trees were white. I mean, there was, 100 fucking people there taking pictures. They were in peak frosty. It looked like snow. I mean, I'm really glad I went. But I went back today and it was like they were all gone. The magnolia blossoms were gone, just totally gone. So the spring's already almost over in a way. There's like a couple weeks a year at early April where the trees are really nice. The blossoms are like white. It really doesn't last long. It's literally like, the first 20 days in April, 20, and then it's kind of just then the all of the leaves will come back on the trees in May, which is nice, but April is a very special time, contrary to what T.S. Eliot may say about it. That's my that's my counterpoint. April's a very special time, especially the first 2 weeks. And all of the fucking celebrities in New York, everybody's in New York at this time. I don't know. There's just something about the first few weeks in April that just like everything happens, reading, everything. So there's, people come here to be a part of this spring in Central Park, and it was just jammed. And, I think I might do typewriter poetry. I would go to Central Park once a week to do typewriter poetry. It would not be a bad office, to be honest. Just take the train to fucking Central Park and write poems for fucking tourists. Why not? At the Bethesda Fountain. If anybody wants to donate to my GoFundMe so I can do typewriter poetry, so I can buy a typewriter. I imagine a typewriter is like $200. Like, I probably could just buy it, but I don't know. Crowdfunding feels like I'm ready to crowdfund everything. It seems like, this is one of the forms of economics that our society has like agreed is like okay. We have been subjected to a really crazy uh, sort of like regimentation of economic justice during my lifetime. People's sense of what is valuable, how much it costs, and what's reasonable. You know, everything has become much, much, much more predatory financially. There is no like goodwill in our society anymore. There is very little. I mean, there is, but it's not like it was. It felt like systematic before. It felt like systematically like rent was like sort of a reasonable price before. And now it just feels like everybody is ripping you off in a way that's just unsustainable. It really feels like apocalyptic and like lethal. Like it's sociopathic how much they charge for things and how everything is fucking costs money, and that's okay. It's okay. It's just like, well, these people have the money, so they can move into the neighborhood. They can build these fucking balcony towers, these new build towers, and just land there like a fucking, Christopher Columbus. And no one's gonna do anything about it. No one's upset about it. And the cost of everything is just gonna go up and keep going up, and it's never gonna go down. And just get another job. Find another source of income. Find a side hustle. Add another side hustle to what you're doing. People don't have jobs, they don't have salaries. They have like a bunch of side hustles and a trench coat. Like I'm a video, that's basically what I had. I worked at Columbia, I worked at Poetry Project, I do the open mic, I do various video things. I did those Art World videos, various gigs here and there. Everything is just a fucking side hustle. But it's, that is so, once again, this affects, how you going to write a novel? How you going to write a 700-page novel with some kind of linear? You're just trying to scrape together and catch as catch can all these extremely, extremely part-time independent contractor, not really well-paying things. All these like sort of vanity internship type jobs. New York, the whole economy is based on people being supported by their parents, is who will come and do things for way less than they should do them for. Like, oh, you'll do videography stuff for like $150. every 2 weeks or something or less. But, your parents are paying for everything anyway. So, or maybe if you're lucky, you have some kind of like day job that like actually pays your bills. But I don't know. Somehow you make it work. It's getting harder and harder. And I don't know, beyond this situation, I don't know what the next step is. I really haven't figured out how to exist financially in this new, brave new world. Well, just this vicious, predatory, and it's just all bullshit. It's just all stuff that they mentally seeded in people through the media and through normalizing capitalism, normalizing the illusion of like this market based. It's all bullshit. Rich people have rewritten a lot of the tax laws and shit during our lifetime. That's why there's all these nepo babies and shit, because it's like these people aren't getting taxed like they used to. They can just hand the wealth down to their kids and say nobody else has a fucking chance. I mean, has Lena Dunham made like as girls as good as the Beatles, you know, or as girls as good as, let's say, Led Zeppelin, or as girls as good as, I don't know, Citizen Kane. To me, Lena Dunham, like, there's this famous quote where it's like, the goal as a director, or if like you're an auteur or whatever, you should be able to put on their film. And if they're a real auteur, it's like you should be able to tell who it is within, you know, 30 seconds. You should be able to look at one frame of the director and be like, I know who that is. I know it's Hitchcock or Fellini, Bergman, and so it encouraged directors to like exaggerate their individual styles visually. Somebody like Wes Anderson. It's just like he completely goes by the auteur theory, where it's like anything that makes it his vision, that's what he wants. Anything that individualizes it and makes it recognizable. And that's why Wes Anderson is such a like imitatable, like recognized brand, recognized visual style. Because it's like he goes to a lot of effort to make it distinct. Lena Dunham, I'm not really sure you could do that. I mean, there might be certain things that are giveaways, the actors, or there's definitely hallmarks. There's definitely trademarks for sure. Like there's definitely, and the thing is, if you look at the comment section, of a fucking TikTok video about Lena Dunham or girls, the audience loves it. You know, people talk about. I mean, they talk about she is the voice of the generation. She made this fucking great show that everybody loves, and like she did it. She fucking did it. You know, she was 24. She got the fucking HBO show, which at the time that was like pretty much, pre Netflix being around, 2012, 13, 14. That's when like Netflix streaming became like the hot prestige contract or whatever studio to work with. But before that, I mean, HBO was like culturally, it was right after The Sopranos. That was like, Curb Your Enthusiasm was on. It was pretty much, in a certain way, it was like the most prestigious thing you could do in like definitely like, you know, television media. It maybe wasn't as prestigious as like, I don't know, winning an Oscar or something or going to a Cannes. But it is kind of in its own way. HBO had like a cultural heat, Game of Thrones, that I don't. They've made some controversial choices. I don't know that it's quite as dominant now. The HBO Max thing, and it's not quite as dominant as it was. Even though Secession and Euphoria and Industry or something, people do watch that shit. It's not quite. I mean, HBO was like, one of the most prestigious cultural brands just across the board. That includes literature or anything. If you had like an HBO show, it was like, ooh, okay, this is like pretty much the height of, mass cultural attention, prestige, and somewhat of a mass appeal. Things like The Sopranos, things like uh 6 Feet Under. There was a lot of Dream On. I mean, I was more of a fan of HBO kind of before all that, Larry Sanders, and it was always a significant thing. The comedy was always a big part of it. Getting an HBO special was like before getting Netflix special, getting HBO special was like it was like, publishing with some real prestigious. I don't know. So she did it. And I'm not a hater. I'm not hating. But I don't know. In a certain way, she kind of makes it look simple. Like we're just gonna tell these stories about these characters, and it's about their personalities. Shoshana is the fucking kind of like whatever. She's young, but she's kind of like she appears like she's ditzy or something, but she's on top of it. She's very organized. She's like, I don't know. So it's deceptive that she seems like kind of an airhead or something. Allison Williams is like, uh she's kind of like a normie. She's hot, but she's in the city. She's sort of trying different stuff. She sings. She's kind of fun, but she's not like Jemima Kirk, who's like a little bit more wild, a little bit. more dangerous, a little bit more reckless. Jemima Kirk's a little bit more soulful, maybe. Uh, Allison Williams maybe a little more like white. Like Jemima Kirk is more like some kind of funky pseudo hippie art school chick. She does drugs. She fucking, Whereas like Allison Williams, probably a little more straight laced, probably a little more. Maybe she does a little bit of that, but and then Lena Dunham's character is like, I don't know, the narrator, just storyteller, sensitive one who pays attention to it all. She's got ADHD. She's got like issues where she has to stay in bed and shit. Uh she's the fat one. She's the fat ugly one. No offense. That's why she's such a talented writer. Just kidding. Just kidding. She's the writer. She's the writer character. She's like the poet, I guess. She's sort of I lost my viewers because I said Lena Dunham is fat and ugly. She's the voice of our generation, or a voice of a generation. Uh, I mean, I don't know. That show kind of struck a nice balance with it was like hip and kind of glamorous or aspirational, but also like accessible, or like you know any kind of hipster person in the country could probably watch that show and relate to it, relate to the fashion, relate to the like is living in Portland or San Francisco or LA or Chicago, or there's enough to relate to. And like I said, it did feel like an early mass media kind of like expression of a lot of the values that would go on to define like millennial era. Being sensitive to the ones who are more kind of bullied, or disabled people, or like she a big part of the show is her ADHD or whatever. I like I said, a lot of just like how people defined what was hot, or it just seemed like that show, you know, did dictate that like Broad City, right, was sort of on at the same time and was sort of emanating from the same kind of like millennial cultural New York feminist. Is Lena Dunham Jewish? I don't know. I don't think so. Or maybe she's half Jewish or something. Uh, but I always liked Broad City more, to be honest. I could relate. Broad City was felt like more truthful to me. It felt more relatable. I guess I like the sensibility more. It's a little bit more clownish, I guess. But those girls were really smart. Alana Glazer and Abby. And they came out of UCB. I remember one time I was walking through Washington Square with my buddy, and we saw Ilana Glazer. And this was before that show was on Comedy Central. They had a YouTube show that was like popular. They had a show at UCB that was like every week or maybe once a month. Broad City. It was called Broad City, but it was live. And even then, they stood out. Like they were like, even then they were like famous in New York. Everybody knew them, and that their shit was like their videos were popular. And then their show just sort of became like a higher production version of what they were already doing on YouTube. And so I don't know. I could. it felt like they, maybe it's just because it was a comedy show. I don't know. Girls seemed a little bit more upper class or something. I don't know. It does feel like it was less relatable. Lena Dunham is like a product of private school type thing. Like she's and it's just like I can't. We're at Broad City. They went to NYU, which I guess is a private school, but there's something about it that feels like a little bit more proletariat or something. Girls feels like the product of some kind of exclusive elite education or something. All right, maybe I should get off. No one's watching. I'm just talking shit about Lena Dunham. Well, I'm not really talking shit. I'm just like analyzing. And well, to be fair, she, a lot of those directors were following her lead in that, she sort of, I don't know if you'd say that she discovered Adam Driver, but like he went to Juilliard. I'm sure he would have been famous probably either way, but as from what I recall, that was like the first thing he was really in. And then he was in inside Llewyn Davis, and he's all these other directors started to cast him based on the fact that kind of that he was on that show, and he was sort of people were looking for someone to sort of define what millennial male archetype was going to be. James Franco was there, but when Adam Driver came along, it was sort of like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. This is what millennial, you know, male movie star looks like and feels like, and he personifies it. He personifies this, the values of this wave of humanity. And so I don't know. I just feel like I don't feel defined by that show. And I'm living my life in some way as if our generation is still like not totally defined. Like I just don't like the way that millennial culture has manifested or like defined it. The name millennial sucks, and just a lot of this stuff is just so corporate and I don't know if that's the internet, but even if I think about Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show, Taylor Swift, what Saturday Night Live has become, the kind of monoculture that there is, Miley Cyrus, the artists of our generation. It's like, ugh, none of it feels like indie at all. Everything feels like it's come from, which is ironic because like the legacy media is supposedly dying, and yet Lena Dunham was like sort of an indie filmmaker in that she made like a film that went to South by, but like her story feels like very like inside, the lines of elite culture. She's not like, some fresh young voice from the plains. Like she's always been in the centers of cultural power and awareness. And yeah, I don't know. Like there is like definitely culture everywhere. There's people making content, making music, making writing, but it just doesn't feel like uh like if you look at culture from other decades, the 60s, 70s, whatever, it's like there's bands from everywhere that are making music that like people are hearing, and uh it's like everybody now has kind of their own little micro audience. But there's very little like one hit wonder feel, or people who capture sort of like a national awareness or something. Unless you're, I guess, Ivy Wolk. I just think that's a cowlick. That's just a cowlick. I don't know. All right, I guess that's enough for one day. Should I do 3 hours? I don't think there's anything else. There's always more to talk about. Um, the purpose of this lecture, right, is sort of using Lena Dunham, I guess, as like a measuring stick, and cultural reference point for my own. Everybody runs their own marathon, and Lena Dunham like won the marathon. Me, it's probably going to take me 6 hours to run the marathon, but that's not. It's not important whether you win or you lose. For me, I don't know. Poetry is such a useful, satisfying way of like getting my ideas out, that film and writing scripts, it's so beholden to just like all of the framework of setting up the scene and the situation. That's the whole thing. It's like it's not really writing. Poetry is like all writing. Everything in a poem is like words, writing, ideas, comments. Movie, it's very little of that. The other day I was looking at this book at Drama Bookshop. I don't know if I talked about this. It was dialogue from Jean-Luc Godard films. Uh, Forget what it was called. Phrases, I think. Phras, Phrases. Jean-Luc Godard, and they basically just took all of the dialogue from, I think it was like the last six Godard films or something, and basically turned it into poems. They just printed it, but it was like, it was lineated like poetry. So it was almost like a book of Godard poetry, and it read like that. It really was amazing. I actually like really was into this book a lot, and people who published it, there I looked it up, and or it said in the book, and their address was on Riverside Drive. So like they live, on the Upper West Side somewhere, and they've published some pretty cool books. I forget what the press was called, but I that's my impression of how Jean-Luc Godard kind of wrote dialogue in a way. It was almost like he had these scraps of things that he wanted the characters to say, or this or that. It wasn't like he had some 90-page fucking Robert McKee. screenplay. And so I don't know. I guess my mental conception of myself as a writer is really like important to me. And marrying that with the physical actualization of like making a film and all these other things, acting, performance, it's sort of a perversion and it sort of feels counterproductive. You know, like being a writer, people kind of expect you to have a certain personality, a certain look, a certain demeanor, or that fulfills their expectation or not. You know, like this guy looks like a writer, he behaves like a writer, his personality is like that of a writer. My personality, right, is more like a game show host. And so for me to allow myself to just like be a writer, I can't really do that. I've been trying to like wrestle that persona into game show host world, you know, bring, you know, because I really do think of myself like as a writer, or that's like sort of that's what I most prefer to do, probably. You know, if I could just stay home and write all the time and read, I'd probably do that. Like going on stage, I love doing that too, but it's sort of like out of my comfort zone. It's scary, like tonight. I'm not one of these people that feeds off of other people's energy. I don't just want to be around other people all the time and talking on the phone all the time. And tonight, it's like I could have gone to this reading, but I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to see people, or I don't know if I have energy for that. I'd like to, but it's going to be a whole thing. I don't know who's going to be there. Blah blah blah. Uh, what was I saying? I'm going to do 3 hours. God damn it! I've come this far. Might as well do an even three. I'm getting some good shit in here. Why not? Bitching about, oh yeah, how I don't look like a writer. Well, especially when you're around all these fucking Columbia University MFA types. I mean, that's why I don't know. I have to affect this sort of like street urchin, artful dodger of poetry thing. Like, what else do we have? We weren't protected by the academy and by the ivory tower. And, I saw this thing. What was it? Hampshire College just went out of business. Hampshire College. My friend went to Hampshire College, and I don't really know why. And I don't know that much about Hampshire College, but it seems like a cool place. Apparently, they have a clown program. They have like a comedy thing. Elliott Smith went there. I mean, the person I know who went to Hampshire College is like, really smart. And so I think it's an interesting choice. I'd never heard of it until I met her. I didn't know what it was. But it just went out of business because they can't do it anymore. It's not financially viable. And so they're closing Hampshire College. It was like a funky, crazy alternative. There were no grades and no homework, and I think it's in Western Mass or something. It's one of those colleges like Goddard colleges. Bennington's sort of like that, although I think Bennington's maybe a little more disciplined. Yeah, Bennington. It is totally insane that Ashley went to Bennington College, actually. Now that Ashley has been gone for like a couple days, it's like, wow, that's actually crazy. That's actually fucking nuts that Ashley went to Bennington College. But my other friend went to Hampshire, and RIP. They said something about it's either, what is it, a quarter of colleges are like set to close in the next 10 years or something because they just can't financially make it work anymore. And I mean, I just think as writers, And especially for like this poetry MFA thing, this is really going to change the landscape professionally because, I mean, these higher education universities and shit were able to like kind of explode over the last few decades because it just became more and more of a requirement and an expectation for people in this country to go to college, right? And you know, like even among my parents' generation, I think it was more rare to go to college. Like it wasn't. Neither one of my parents really went to. I think they went a little bit each, but not, you know, neither one of them graduated. And you know, for people my age, it was just like you got to go to college and take out tons of student loan debt, and then you'll get a job. This is what everybody complains about, right? It's like, oh fuck, I didn't get a I didn't get a job immediately out of college. I took out all this debt, and so they lied to me and blah blah blah. And there's some truth to that. I mean, it became this big industry. I don't think it was necessarily designed to like dupe people. I think, they should have there should have been more focus on providing those jobs for people, so when people came out of college, like I don't necessarily think college was a bad experience for myself personally, but I definitely think, like I was saying earlier, just like the way it was financialized and the cost of it exploded for my generation. There was something like going to college at Hunter College in the early '90s was like $400 a semester or something. And it's just like 10 years later or 15 years later, for me, it's like going to fucking state school. It was like 20 grand a year or something, is what they wanted to charge. And, that was incredibly predatory and incredibly like wrong, frankly, for them to do that, to jack the price up. But it created this whole industry with these MFA programs that's sort of attached to these colleges because the colleges will sell a degree to anybody that wants one. There's plenty of people that want to be writers and want to be poets. And so what do? Now it's like there's no publishing industry, there's no magazines really that anybody gives a shit about. So it's like they have to fucking all the fucking charters. Uh, and so what happened is all those fucking people, uh, oops, you know, took advantage of people that wanted to be writers by selling them degrees. It's like, okay, you want to be a poet? Go to Ira Writer's Workshop, go to Columbia, go to, these MFA programs. If it's something like, in 1945, when World War II ended, what, there was like one or two MFA programs or something. There was Iowa and like maybe one other one. And now there's like, fucking hundreds, if not thousands of them. Um, like, what did I see the other day? Somebody was offering an MFA program. I was like, this is not even a real fucking university. It was like some like local, like writers, like workshop thing. It's like, here, get your MFA. It's like, this is not even a fucking school. Like, what do you mean MFA? Like, and so this is one reason why I talk so much shit about this and why I'm so focused on it, because it really is like this fucking Ponzi scheme. Or what else can they do? It's like people want to be writers, people are interested in writers, so it's sort of a way that the state sponsors it. It's not the worst thing in the world, to be honest. It's not necessarily like a free market of like a publishing industry where like all these people are publishing books that like the market is they're being bought and that provides them a living. Like that's how things are supposed to work in capitalism or whatever. But for whatever reason, that doesn't really exist anymore. And so the way people become poets now and writers is they get MFAs or maybe even fucking PhDs, and then they become adjuncts or they try to get on tenure track or whatever. And so as adjuncts, they're really part of the pyramid scheme where it's like they are hired to teach the kids who are brought in who are exploited with these student loans because they're told that they have to go to college. And so they have to go to college. So it's like you got to take out $100,000 in student loan debt and just do it and don't ask questions. You want to be a writer or not? This is the only way to do it. And so, oh, you've got this credential from Columbia or wherever it is, Iowa. And so you've got the gold star and you've got the little badge that says you work for the fucking FBI. And but my point is, I guess what does it say that 25% of all of these colleges are going to close? First of all, where did that come from? Is this just another Trump fucking thing where it's like, this election was really like one of the first times I remember a lot of people talking about, it's become more and more of a talking point from the right wing about college is a waste of time, it's a waste of money. All these people should go to trade schools. And Trump is a big part of his administration has been attacking Harvard, attacking all these different colleges, trying to undermine DEI or whatever. And to be honest, like things like this, you look at it, it's like it's kind of fucking working. Like in the same way that he killed the fucking media and killed all the newspapers and shit by just like calling them fake news and blah blah blah. It's like in a certain way, is he going to kill the entire like higher education thing? A one third or one fourth of all of these fucking colleges are going to go out of business within 10 years. That means a lot of MFA adjuncts and poets are probably going to lose their fucking jobs, I imagine. A one quarter of them, I would imagine. Uh, and so, what is going to happen to poetry? I guess is my point. I think there will, there's always going to be like a poetry scene. The MFA thing provides like a salary, benefits, structure, you know, institutional framework, prestige, stability to some degree. If you can get tenure, you can travel around to these different residencies. There's a whole ecosystem. This university system in this country is like massive and very powerful, and particularly in like the literary landscape. It practically is the literary landscape. The literary landscape in this country is basically like the universities is like 80% of it. And then maybe 10% of it is like the New York publishing world with like magazines and the big five or whatever. And then maybe 10% of it is just like book fairs and weird local shit, open mics but like most all of these fucking authors went to get an MFA and they teach some fucking place. And I don't know. Trump has just been really going after that. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like poetry can and will exist in spite of that, or it already does exist. It's just that framework, things like AWP, these various like clouded, you know, Chicago, University of Chicago, Berkeley lunch fucking poems, Harvard Woodbury Room. That stuff is just kind of like part of the professional career aspect of like being an artist. That's not necessarily like the most sacred way to do it. In our culture, like that's the way that the state sort of sponsored the arts. Things like Ohio State University, it's a research university. They're probably researching like shit that kills us, military shit, bad food, cancer shit, Epstein, Les Wexner, they're on the board. But they have enough money to pay Henri Cole, superstar poet, to come in and teach our dumbasses for a few years. And he probably made, a shitload of money. He probably made hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. To be a part-time resident of Columbus, Ohio, and teach like one fucking class. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, what is bad about it? Has it been 3 hours? Okay, it's been 3 hours. But it's like poetry can and does exist in bars, in libraries, in prison, in high school. The open mic world is strong, as we know. So I don't know. Economically, how much sense does it make right now to try to go into that? If you want to make money as a writer, you better start a book talk. Or I don't even know. Get some other job. Figure out some other way to make money. And then write in your spare time. I don't know. The other big struggle, right, is for people who want to be artists or writers is like, how do you do it all the time? How do you get paid to do it? To me, it's like, fuck, maybe typewriter poetry. Typewriter poetry might be the most pure form of poetry. Just go out and write poems directly to the people, for the people, by the people, of the people. Next week is 420 at open mic. Come out on Monday. It is literally 420. It is 100% actually 420. So you know what that means. I mean, it's always 420, but this week it's especially 420. In fact, let me write that down. Make sure I need to say that on Monday. That'd be a good line. The whole week for the open mic, I'm thinking about things to do, music to play, little moments, little ad libs, little things I want to say. I'm constantly working on the show. The little touches. The little jokes, the little patter, the little uh s- haiku moments. It's a 24-hour a day job, okay? Being an open mic host is a 24-hour a day job, okay? I want to make a commercial for the open mic where I just go all over New York to like Times Square, like the most recognizable like tourist shit, in like my suit and be like, "Easy Paradise is New York," or just like I want it to be like the Joe Franklin. There's these Joe Franklin pictures of him in like a tuxedo, where he's just like in Times Square and all these different places. He's like eating a hot dog, just like the most cliched like New York shit from like the '80s in Central Park. I well that the millennial New York. So much of millennial identity is like defining ourselves against the norm. Like the boomer, like Manhattan is the norm. Central Park is like the norm. Girls is not about that. Girls is about Greenpoint. It's about a warehouse party in Bushwick. It's about McCarran Park. That's the millennial. The millennial experience is like, you know, um, Carroll Gardens. It's Gowanus. It's not. Oh yeah, this is something I wanted to bitch about. Is these listening bars? I saw some TikTok or some fucking thing about the hot new trend is like these listening bars where it's like the whole fucking thing is about like the quality of the stereo. Like they've got these like Swedish speakers. They're like this fucking, pure wood, blah, blah, blah. I don't even fucking know. There's a place, Public Records, audiophile, listening bars. I think that's so fucking lame. I mean, how about real music? I mean, get a real fucking band for Christ's sakes. You support the arts. How about you get some real fucking people in there and you give them some money to play if you support the arts so much? It's kind of chilly out now. But no, everybody wants to go to a fucking listening bar. I don't want to talk to other people. I want to go and listen to like records on like some kind of like audiophile stereo equipment because I'm a fucking Karen of sound quality. I need to listen to some like super, hi-fi stereo. Or the other thing is, now it's these Tokyo jazz bars. There was this bar on 53rd Street in Midtown where I used to walk. That was like some Tokyo jazz bar in a basement, and there was a fucking line down the block of people waiting to get into this in the wintertime. It's freezing outside. People are waiting in line to get in this fucking Tokyo style jazz bar. I guess that's cool, but like, what does it say that like New York is like ripping off Tokyo swag? Like, what is the New York equivalent of that? What do they have in Tokyo that's like, this is the New York? They need a New York open mic poetry bar. Tokyo needs like a knockoff of a KGB bar. I mean, to be honest, KGB should be world famous. I can't think of anything like it. What is there like KGB? That's like literally a three-floor literary bar, like where like almost exclusively they do like poetry readings with like and the other readings they have are pretty fucking good too. It's not academic, it's not tied to any institution. It's just there by grace of like being in this kind of landmark district, and the guy owns the building, and he's they're cool enough and they're smart enough and they're giving enough to like that's what they do there. They just want to have cool shit there. Thank God. Thank God they didn't just sell the building and turn it into some frozen yogurt place or something. Some shitty like Instagram restaurant for yuppie, you know, people with no fucking taste. Tech people, finance zombies from the SEC, the ACC, bunch of bimbos, sorority bimbos. New York is full of sorority bimbos who are trying to feel like gritty and like streetwise, but you can sense the basic bitch underneath. Uh, so yeah, I don't think there's anything like KGB on planet Earth. I mean, does Paris have a equivalent, or does London have an equivalent? Does Tokyo have an equivalent to that? A three-store fucking literary bar. I mean, they have music, they have jazz, but like the thing that distinguishes KGB is like it's about writing, and I like that. I like that it's a bar. It's not, you know, it's not the safety of academia, and it's not one of these legacy institutions that's just running on like fundraising from the fucking boomers. It's a current place. It's relevant because young people decide to go there to put things on, to spend their money, to do hard drugs, to do their hard drugs there. It's a great place to do hard drugs. Not too many of those left. And it's been there. It's been there long enough, and it has a history and like a legacy, for lack of a better word. It's I don't find that oppressive. Like it's not all about that. KGB isn't just like some nostalgia trip. It feels very contemporary, and it feels like it belongs to like the young people. But they did fucking the Infinite Jest launch there, and there's been decades of everybody has read there. It's kind of storming. You can't buy that. You can't buy that kind of. It's the IRL White Writers Workshop of. Yeah, see, there it goes. It's heat lightning. Ah, I mean, I think at a certain point, I don't know, as an artist or whatever, you do have to simplify it and just like finish things and send them out. Like that's what Ashley was good at. Ashley was really good at like, she had a list of like, these are the deadlines for submission for this magazine, for this contest. She was methodical about uh, finishing her novel or whatever. Oh, shit, did it break? There it is. Coney Island. Great, great Satan. Okay. Well, is that enough? Are we done? I didn't get any likes on this. It's because I talk shit about Lena Dunham. People don't understand how to press the like button, I guess. What time is it? Where's my other phone? 11:41. Maybe I'll go to midnight. I just can't quit you. I can't quit you. I can't stop streaming. Like clavicular, you know? Why just stream all it? See, I don't have a fucking bald spot. Come on now. Where it's, I don't see any fucking bald spot. You bastard. You son of a bitch. I'm going to do a piece on stage where I destroy Bill Maher's book. Destroy Bill Maher's book on stage. But not this one. Actually, of all the things she left me with fucking this. Which, I'm like, I gotta throw this away. But then I look at it, it's like it's inscribed. And so, you know, I can't throw it away. But I need to get another copy because I'm gonna destroy it. Ew. Okay, so I'm gonna go to midnight. What the hell else do we need to talk about? Poetry lesson. This is my poetry college. And there's people out watching. I think my last stream I got 15 hours, which, I think it was 2 hours long. So that means at least 7 people watched the whole thing. And maybe 15 people watched half of it. It's a long time to listen to somebody prattle on about how they're a failure. Why are they a 40-year-old with no. So anyway, I do have books. I'm proud of the books that I have written. I do think they're worth publishing. In a perfect world, I think my travel, poetry, adventure books, choose your own adventure books would be like bestsellers. I think in a perfect world, if society was functioning properly, if people had critical thinking skills and any kind of fucking taste whatsoever, they didn't just like Ed Sheeran music, fucking Harry Styles, and everything sucks. I'm sorry, but our generation sucks. Everything after, I would say everything after like 1998, like sucks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to put it that way, but something changed. And I've done the best I can under the goddamn circumstances. I mean, if I had any kind of financial ability whatsoever, maybe things would have turned out differently. But I am just trying to just claw, scrape and claw. And like I said, I'm proud of my books. Romana Clay, L.A. Story, Placid Western, City Life, myself included, Selective Amnesia. I've published what 7 books. City Life is 560 pages and counting. I will airdrop it to you. Um, but are they like real? That no one. They're not like officially published and like out in the world like from some big publisher or something. They're like uh, small press, personal. And so, did they get ratified by some kind of other, like people pay attention to that stuff. If somebody finds quality in your work to like publish it or you win some contest or something, people go, oh, okay, this probably has some value. You're published. It's in print. And if you just do it yourself, it kind of feels like, okay, whatever. Good for you and your fucking poetry. Sure, sure, whatever. And I do think poet has become some kind of weird, like even fucking Curtis Yarvin, like has written goddamn poetry. Poets become some kind of weird cultural position that, like, I don't know, smart people who think that they're, I don't know, worth, you know, listening to, they want to be poets, or it's the ultimate kind of like status symbol for whiz kids or people who wanted to say the smart thing in class, or I don't know, gifted, autistic, linguistic. In any case, like I don't, everyone in Brooklyn is a fucking poet, and Brooklyn is like this concentration of all of the smart people who take themselves seriously, who can make a living. They all come here. They all live in this neighborhood, and a lot of them are poets now more than ever. I mean, everybody does readings. It's cool. It's great. Everybody's got a zine. Fantastic. It's a golden age for small magazines. So I don't know. I'm gonna try to fucking commit to publishing and sending shit out, taking it more seriously. Feels like, uh, you know, not gonna have time to return to be able to do that. And before I was with Ashley, it was still like woke era for the most part. And so it wasn't exactly like you had to go ahead as like a white guy. It was still kind of like, But then, when Biden lost or when Kamala lost, it just felt like the woke thing just collapsed, sort of. It still exists and it still runs a lot of like the institutions, but all of the corporations and all of the, banks and shit that were like super woke, Hollywood, they suddenly just like dropped all of that. And in fact, now it's like the opposite. Like Taylor Swift put out a fucking MAGA album. They're all trying to kiss his ass. They're all trying to suck up to Trump. They don't want to offend him. What the hell time is it? 11:50. 10 more minutes. I'll do, I guess. Somebody will watch this someday. I don't know. I mean, somebody will click it or not click it, or I'm sorting through the pieces of my life. Uh, I'm not that good at like forcing myself to socialize or, you know, I don't even know what goes on Friday and Saturday nights. They don't typically have open mics on Friday and Saturday nights. Those are like the nights where they have actually like I had that show the other night at Francis Kite Club was on Saturday night, and it's like it's so rare that I do a show on Saturday night, actually, which is ironic because that's like probably the biggest night for like entertainers. But it's a whole different feel on Saturday night because the thing is, the people who are there to see the show, for them, it's like it it's it's their night to have fun and to relax almost. It's their day off. Like Saturday night, it's even though there's like that's the night when probably the most people go out, like they're actually there to have fun. And so, the crowd actually felt like super relaxed and super uh like on a Monday it's just a much different feel. Yeah, I guess maybe it's an open mic crowd too, which is not really like a crowd. It's people waiting to perform, a lot of them. But Monday it's like people went to work that day, they got to go to work the next day. They're there like it's not their day off, they're not relaxed, they want to get it over with, they want to get up, or it's not anybody's number one party day is Monday. And so you're not really getting people cut loose. Uh so it's like as an entertainer, you almost have to work harder because people, sometimes you come out to that Monday audience and they're just like dead. I mean, the audience is just like totally fucking dead. Or maybe it's me, I don't know. They're not impressed. But or that Sunday, like we did the clown car was on Sunday the first couple times at that sesh comedy. And Sunday was a way different vibe too. Sunday everybody just felt tired. It just felt like, you know, not that people didn't want to be there, but it felt like people just kind of like dragged themselves there and they were having a good time, but like it didn't feel like, it was going to turn into some crazy wild spicy party or something. It felt like kind of sober in a way. It's Sunday. It's like church day. People have been drinking up until that day. Sunday is sort of like this more day of recovery. And then Monday, like it's everybody's least favorite day. Everybody's going to work. It's not like a party day, really. And so nobody really, people wear just like whatever they fucking want to wear. They don't really want to dress up. They save like their real dressing up for like some weekend thing. This is one reason why I need to have like some weekend events because Monday now, especially, it's harder to get people uh to feel like it's some special thing. It just feels like they're gonna save it for a Friday or a Thursday, something that's a feature reading that they have at some venue, not like an open mic on a fucking Monday. That's just like a place where they go to like sort of practice, get in front of an audience, whatever. Uh, all right, I'm gonna get off, but those distinctions mattered less earlier in the when we started doing this. because it was still the pandemic. So the fact that there was any event at all, like people were like, "Whoa, cool, let's go do this." Now it's just like, there's events everywhere all the time, and there's events on the weekends. People are saving it for those days. They're not necessarily like Monday's not necessarily their like number one priority. Uh, all right, we're gonna go to midnight. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Masters. It was the Masters who won. Oh, Rory fucking repeated. I don't know. Masters Week. It just every year it brings up. It's just it's a good time to check in with golf, and it brings back memories of my formative years, and it's an interesting intersection politically with everything that's going on. Trump obviously loves golf. How come Trump wasn't at the Masters? Wasn't he at the fucking? He was at some UFC fight. Trump should have pulled up to the Masters for Christ's sake. He's been going all this other. Didn't he go to the Super Bowl or Masters at Augusta? It's already over. I mean, now it's Thursday, so it's like I missed my chance to sort of talk about the Masters. But golf team van, I think, has stood up well. It was a year ago at this time that I did that gig at Pete's Candy Store where I talked about playing on the golf team in high school, and I was sort of reflecting about my time playing golf in high school, JV golf. Because I had JV golf. That is fucking pathetic. I mean, I played varsity like my at least my senior year. It probably was other years too. Maybe junior year. I think I played. Did I? Jesus Christ! It had to have been more than once. That's sad. If I did, I wasn't really focused on being good at golf. I hated golf. I had issues with it politically, ethically, morally. I didn't really want to play golf in high school. I was forced, but and goddamn, just the people you play with are neocons. They're all like JD Vance. I mean, JD Vance is like a composite of everybody you play golf with in high school. Just smarmy fucking douchebags. Insufferable. He's like somebody that would call a penalty on you for like, doing something sort of not the right way. Fuck you, JD Vance, you needle dick. President Vance. I mean, he probably will be the president. I hate to say it, but something will happen with Trump, I think. I mean, right? At some point, he'll either die or get impeached if the Democrats win at the midterms, or, do you think Trump will live to past 28? I mean, it's marginal, right? Okay, we're going to do one more. We're going to go to midnight. What else? Yeah, the Masters. It's 420 next week. And then, who knows? Onward and upward. Gods somehow make me popular. My clip farming really did not go well. I did some clip farming for my last stream in this room, and it really bombed. I mean, Jesus Christ, all these clips bombed. So I don't think there's any super good clip farming. This was all personal. I'm talking about more personal stuff. I mean, I guess I was talking about Lena Dunham being misogynistic or something. Body shaming Lena. Dunham. See, I'm from the era of body shaming. Like I predate Lena Dunham, so a lot of my point of view is already like stale. The idea that I'm gonna make some movie that's gonna like, define our generation, it's too late. It's already been defined. We're all about body positivity, having tattoos, uh, tall, gangly, angry. You're allowed to be angry if you're tall. If you're short, you're then just like a Napoleon or whatever. But if you're tall, it's like you're just full of passion and emotion. I mean, I don't. How do I? They say like with women, it's like they're emotional, right? Like you have to, if you can create emotions, but it's like, what does that mean? What is that when you're having a conversation with somebody, like across the table or something? Like, what does that mean? Like, I seem to be more of like an analytical, logical. This is like a common problem that guys have. It's like they're too like logical minded or something, whereas like women are like emotional. What the fuck does that mean to like communicate emotionally with somebody? I don't know. Okay, well, it's past midnight. Thank you for watching. Who knows when I'll be back on? I think, is this thing getting better? What do you think? Yes, no? I was putting a potato on it for a while. Oh, have you seen Stanley Simmons? You should talk about that. Stanley Simmons has popped up in my. This is like something. I'm sure if they haven't talked about this on office hours yet, they probably will. This is totally something that might occur. Stanley Simmons is Paul Stanley's son and Gene Simmons, the singers from Kiss, the two guys from Kiss. It's their sons are in a band called Stanley Simmons. And they're actually their harmonies are like they're honestly they're better singers than their dad. It's crazy. Gene Simmons' kid, it's unbelievable how good of a singer Gene Simmons' kid is, considering his dad is Gene Simmons. I mean, I actually like Gene Simmons and like as a musician. I think they are good musicians. I think they're a good band actually. I People like to talk shit about. I think Kiss like no, I think they know what they're doing. Like Gene Simmons is a good bass player. He sings these parts and they sing harmonies and it's like he's playing these bass parts that are, kind of off time with what he's singing. That's not easy to do. And he's very steady about it. He's in fucking high heels and shit. He's in platform shoes. Everything's on fire. He's wearing this armor and shit. He's like, sticking his tongue out at all these women. Kiss, it's like they really have an interplay. They understand rock and roll. They're a rock and roll band. And they do it well. They have good songs, they have good records. The Kiss has a lot of good songs. I hate to say that, but they do. They have a lot of good rock and roll songs. A lot of them. Strutter. There's a lot of good Kiss songs. Uh I want you. And so Stanley Simmons. The one Gene Simmons kid sounds like Hosier. He's got kind of a Hosier voice. He's like this big, like, I'm gonna, he's like Jason Momoa, like, I'm gonna take you to church and I'm 6.5 feet tall. I got a big voice. God damn. What does Hosier sound like? I'm gonna be like Short King Hosier. That'd be like a fun character. Hosier. God damn, I'll take you to church on time. That's kind of a Hosier voice right there. Take you to church. Orgasm church. Cunnilingus orgasm church. From a tall guy, 6 feet 2. Down on my knees, eating your pussy. That's my Jose impression. I don't know what. I get it. I get it. Jose is female gaze. It's like, yeah, they want some fucking six ultra baritone like Gene Simmons' kid, Stanley Simmons. And so yeah, Stanley Simmons. They need some good songs. We'll see. They kind of sound like Nell. Their harmonies are nuts. Anyway, check out Stanley Simmons, Nepo Babies. Thank you guys for watching. Good night. We'll talk soon. I'm vlogging soon. This weekend, I am going to do my vlog. Finally. It's been 2 months. I know people are eagerly awaiting my. It's been quite a journey. A lot has happened. So the vlog has got a lot of fucking material. In fact, maybe I'll start to upload some of this shit now to my computer. I'll airdrop that shit. Thank you for watching, everybody. Godspeed, little children. Come to the open mic Monday. It's 420. It's your 420 headquarters.